Chapter 58-52. Start a million. Jian Wushuang said calmly. When he heard 1,000,000 supernatural powers, Zack hurriedly shouted, "Turn around, turn around." The wave wheel enhancer operating the flying carpet quickly stopped. "Zack, that position is the tribe where Elder Jones is." "That's it." Jian Wushuang understood now. Gula should have gone to another tribe nearby. Zack is the strongest warrior of the Elder Jones tribe. Just keep practicing in the Holy Land. Now I heard that Gula was going to his tribe and I was anxious. You two took Danbao and your benefactor to detour to the Holy Land. I will go back to support Elder Jones. Zack didn't shrink this time because Gula had 1,000,000 supernatural powers. This is the warrior of Palanga. Always hold the greatest kindness to your tribe and people. A tribe will not give up. It's like they went to rescue Danbao. It was just a child and 3 5 Tribulations realm were dispatched. This has nothing to do with the inheritance of holy relics. It is true that promised to lend Jian Wushuang. Because this inheritance sacred object is really of little use, it is only used to pay tribute to the great dragon god. I'm going with you. Elder Jones is too old, and his divine power has declined very seriously. You can't help much by yourself. Another wave wheel strengthener also took the initiative to fight. Jian Wushuang suggested at this time, even if you go together, it's useless. It's better to let the strong from the Holy Land support you now. He listened to Danbao's words. This Zack is only ranked 10th, can be so strong. Then call the rest together, there is really hope to defeat Gula. The elder Shima, who is closest to this place, has already set off with someone. Danbao had already been contacting the elders of various tribes. Jian Wushuang also stole a complimenting look at Danbao. No loss is a smart type, and the reaction is faster than these few elm bumps. Let's go now. Zack and the other wave wheel strengthener directly increased their speed and flew quickly in the direction of Galafii. There is only one wave wheel strengthener with the weakest strength left. Wu Li said in a voice transmission at this time, "Brother Wushuang, why don't we make him together?" "Don't." Jian Wushuang shook his head lightly. He could see now that the Balunga were not hostile to the humans. It's better to go downhill and don't always think about being someone else. Danbao used the crystal ball in his hand to continuously deliver news. Seeing that the other party is so busy, I originally wanted to inquire about the Barunga Holy Land, but now I am too embarrassed to disturb the other party. After Zack and the others left, everyone rushed for a quarter of an hour, trying to make a detour to the Holy Land. Jian Wushuang sat down cross-legged and waited quietly. But at this time, he felt a strong breath and was approaching. This breath is very familiar. There is Li Sheng's breath in it. This shocked him. Just when he wanted to remind one of the wave wheel enhancers who manipulated the magic carpet, Li Sheng had already given him a voice transmission. "Gula is not there. What's the situation on your side? Why are you mixing up with the Balungia people?" After Jian Wushuang saw the news, he let out a sigh of relief. "As long as Gula is not there. I just don't know, Li Sheng, what are they doing here?" He hadn't reminded which wave wheel strengthener. The other party felt the breath himself, but he stopped by himself. There is no way to avoid it. It's Gula's subordinate. Jian Wushuang reflected this time. At the same time, he directly sent a message to Li Sheng and asked him what he was coming from. This group of people is responsible for finding out the location of Balunga Holy Land. The tribes of Balunga are easy to find. But holy places, ordinary people are not worth it at all. Gula's victory is in hand, no tribe of Balungia can stop them, and they can be pulled out one by one. But the Holy Land is not so early. So he sent his men to find the Holy Land. By coincidence, I met Jian Wushuang and the others. The leader is still a 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse, and 7 or 8 4 Tribulations realm. Fortunately, the breath of the 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse was not as strong as Jian Wushuang imagined. The wave wheel strengthener gritted his teeth and stopped. Is probably because of this, he wants to avenge his tribe. Jian Wushuang also started gearing up and said to Wu Li next to him, "Wait for you to cooperate with this fellow Taoist, and I will leave the rest to me." "I'm on." Wu Li pointed to himself. Dan Bao also understood at this time that an enemy was approaching, and he urged both of them to take action. Why, you are not afraid? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise on purpose. The two of them just blew the ceiling. If the fire is miserable now, it would be too shameful. Dan Bao is still here. Wu Li also found out the distribution of the strong in that breath, and shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, why? I think this wave wheel plus fellow Taoist can level the opponent alone, but it's been a long time since I did it. Practice with these people. Didn't you just be beaten once? Jian Wushuang whispered, and the beast soldier on his body had already appeared outside his body. A dragon sings the sky. It is not the same as the real dragon of the Palunga tribe. He is the candle dragon. Swish! Dozens of figures descended instantly, appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and them. Yanjia Road is narrow. The leader was a handsome young man with long purple hair, staring at them without any scruples. When he saw that Dragon Ball, his expression was shocked. Dragon Ball? You guys are actually holding Dragon Ball. The Five Tribulations realm powerhouse of Bo Luanjia sneered. Why? Do you want it? Dan Bao reminded in a low voice at this moment. Jada, the other party's divine power is very powerful. Through the crystal ball, he could see that Gyula's subordinate had extremely powerful divine power. Much better than Garda. It's okay, just leave it to me. Wu Li stepped forward at this time, patted Dan Bao's round head, and directly drew out the 3-foot sword. Jian Wushuang's divine power also exploded to the peak, and he used 3 times the power of the beast when he came up, with a divine power of 550,000. It is completely enough to deal with those 4 tribulations realm. Which 5 tribulations realm depends on Wu Li, Calm and this Jada. Do it. Wu Li's face sank, and he shouted directly. Everyone didn't do much nonsense. Jada didn't want to talk nonsense with the murderers who killed other people, so he rushed over. Jian Wushuang didn't move, he wanted to protect Dan Bao. Of course, there is also Dragon Ball. In the crowd, he saw Li Sheng at a glance, nodded, motioned for the other party to come over and act with him. Li Sheng is also very cooperative. Immediately shouted, General Sabo, I will grab the Dragon Ball, and the rest will assist Master Sabo. Sabo's purple hair was flying, and he said calmly, Go and stop the sword-backed man and don't let him escape. I will be able to solve these 2 miscellaneous fish soon. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-53. Yes. Li Sheng smiled and rushed to Jian Wushuang immediately. Jian Wushuang deliberately showed weakness and prevented more people from joining their battle group. Sabo faced Jada, and the 2 Five Tribulations realm powerhouses both possessed more than 700,000 supernatural powers. Wu Li said it was together. He went half a turn to deal with those 4 Tribulations realm. Let Garda play against Sabo alone. Jian Wushuang didn't care. After approaching, he discovered the strength of this Sabo, just like that. It's better than Garda, but it's not much stronger. After Wu Li has solved the miscellaneous fish in the 4 tribulations, it is not too late to help. On Jian Wushuang's side, he was chatting with Li Sheng. Although the start is not light or heavy, it is just for cooperation. From Li Sheng, he also knew the purpose of Gula. This coincides with the group task dispatched by Gumu. They are all about collecting Dragon Balls. If this goes on, the human race team will meet with Gula sooner or later. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang's heart sank. He really didn't think about it. Frozen demons. Millions of supernatural powers. Haven't transformed yet. There is not much hope for cooperation. It's the strong human race, and can join hands with the strong Belungia family to deal with the Gula. This is a good choice. The Holy Land must go. Jian Wushuang told Li Sheng his thoughts. Let the other party understand the importance of this time. If this matter is done, then the saintess candidate of the Empress will be stable. The test of the inner circumference is very important. The core place is basically relying on strength to bite the bullet and rush inside. They must seize this opportunity now. Li Sheng nodded, extremely in favor. At the same time, he also admired Jian Wushuang's loyalty. After being abandoned by the Empress, she was still so loyal. I want to talk about protecting Jinchen. The two are husbands and wives, so they naturally want to protect them. Now that his wife is dead, Jian Wushuang is still so loyal. You can simply build a temple for him. Jian Wushuang himself thought so too. Said it was for Wan Lu Shenmu. But there is no need to fight like this. That time it was a lifespan. If things were done this time, it wouldn't be too much to ask the Empress to come over and knock him one. After the Empress becomes a saint, she must be confessed. But thinking of following Wu Li to sneak into Wan Lu, then the trouble will not be small. It's even. The two played easily. But Wu Li's side is killing. One sword and one head, blood stained the sky. Just let you people see, the first human sword is amazing. Wu Li held the wooden sword upside down and took a deep breath. A green breath was exhaled from his mouth, and the wooden sword directly penetrated the green breath, as if quenched, and the kendo began to soar. The only 3 remaining 4 Tribulations realm powerhouses looked at each other and dared not step forward anymore. They also didn't expect that the 4 Tribulations realm of human race in front of them would be so powerful. It is already comparable to the 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse. Fight! Wu Li smiled and shouted, "Good job! Killing these 4 Tribulations realm desolate beasts is like destroying them. Beheaded instantly." Putting the wooden sword into the sheath, he also learned Jian Wushuang's back, looking like a master, turned his head to look at Jian Wushuang and said calmly, "Do you need my help?" Li Sheng was also taken aback. He didn't expect that Wu Li, who used to be the only promise in the country of Vietnam, would be so strong. Returning to the Yu country this time, the position of their Li family is likely to be replaced by the Wu family. For a while, he was also not satisfied with his divine power. Thinking of reaping some benefits from this group mission. Everyone else has broken through, and he has to break through. 5 Tribulation Realm. It's not impossible. Besides, since he has helped Jian Wushuang so much now, he has to get some benefits first. You have to rely on him in the future. For example, such treasures as Hunyuan stone. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang was followed by tens of thousands of Hunyuan, and he was extremely jealous. "Brother Wushuang, your plan is perfect, but my current strength is too weak, I'm afraid." Before he finished speaking, Jian Wushuang understood what the other party meant. Raising his hand and hitting it out, he wrapped a full 500,000 yuan stone and sent it into Li Sheng's body. "Hey, Brother Wushuang, I didn't mean that." Li Sheng still wanted to be polite, but when he saw the number, he trembled and said, "Brother Wushuang, you gave me a big surprise today. It is also very difficult for the 5 Tribulations realm to get so many 500,000 yuan stones. In this holy meeting for Li Sheng, no matter how lucky it is difficult to obtain treasures of equal value. It really gave him a great advantage. He had already collected some of the treasures needed by the 5 Tribulations realm. What is missing is the Hunyuan stone. This time, he might be expected to break through and become the 5 Tribulations realm. Once it succeeds, he can securely win the title of the first family in Vietnam. The juniors who die more are fine. There are many times in the 5 Tribulations realm. He has enough time to cultivate more powerful younger generations. And once the plan is successful, Jian Wushuang accounts for his head skills. Then he is the second credit. At that time, he will be famous in ancient Wood continent. Those strong in the secret realm may not remember him well. But the strong of the 16 nations will definitely remember him, Li Sheng. The chance to become famous is now. Jian Wushuang didn't really care about 500,000 mixed yuan stones. Just give it. Compared to entering Wan Lu, this is a drop in the bucket. Not even a dime. Turning his head and glanced at Wu Li, he said, "Don't worry about me, go help Senior Jada." Although he said so on the surface, it was the sound transmission in private that told Wu Li not to kill him. "We have to let Sabo take Li Sheng away later. If Sabo kills, Li Sheng will be embarrassed." The 5 Tribulations realm all fell, and they fled back to a 4 Tribulations realm. What was going on? Don't lose big because of small. Let Gula doubt Li Sheng. It's a pity that this time he was thinking too much. Wu Li just went to help Jetta. Sabo exploded. The figure swells directly, and his appearance has changed from handsome to ugly, but his supernatural power has actually increased by 7 to 80,000. Now Sabo has 800,000 supernatural powers, the same as the original whale shark king. He is also an extreme powerhouse in the Five Tribulations realm. At this time, doesn't need Wu Li to play Jutta. Both of them broke out with all their strength, and neither of them could stop Sabo. Jian Wushuang also understood that it was time to escape. It's just that he takes 2 people at most. And Jutta didn't seem to want to leave either. Benefactor, you take Dan Bao and go quickly, there are 2 of us blocking here. Jiatta's arm was broken, and the blood in his mouth was constantly flowing, extremely embarrassed, but still worried about Dan Bao's safety. Wu Li cursed secretly in his heart, and quickly transmitted the sound transmission. Jian Wushuang said, "Don't listen to him, take me away, I really can't stop him." "Don't worry," Jian Wushuang said slowly. Sabo, who was firmly in the upper hand, said, "Don't even want to run away, Brother Li Sheng, hold them for me, and I will be able to solve these 2 with 3 breaths. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-54. No problem. Li Sheng smiled madly and started to explode. In private, he told Jian Wushuang to let go and attack him. It's best to have a serious injury. Otherwise, he would not take this virgin stone in a reliable way. Must be ruthless. Jian Wushuang secretly admired him, thinking that Li Sheng was fearful at first, but now he has transformed into a real powerhouse. And it's cruel enough, cruel to others and cruel to yourself. The future is boundless. Don't be too full of words, first catch my super invincible cyclone limit kill splitting, let's talk about it. Jian Wushuang directly drew out the sword of 10,000 tribulations. The cold light blinked. Power shakes the sky. Li Sheng paused, a little fictitious, but still bite the bullet and rushed over, almost stretched his neck to let Jian Wushuang chop. Yijin found that he did not use the star catalog. Although Li Sheng has become stronger, his strength is limited. With a peak of 600,000 supernatural powers, he slashed down with a single sword, not allowing Li Sheng to be smashed to death. It must be calculated well, and the injury must be hurt to the fullest. With this sword, he made Li Sheng short legs so he would not break his hand. The huge sword shadow smashed it, and it was extremely powerful. But it's all on the surface. Even Sabo was taken aback, but he didn't expect that a Four Tribulations realm would be so powerful. Li Sheng's powerhouse has already surprised him. That's why Li Sheng can be regarded as a brother. But Jian Wushuang was so powerful, it was beyond his sight. With just one sword, Li Sheng lost his life. Fell directly from the sky. Wu Li saw Sabo stop for a while, took the opportunity to pull away and rushed towards Li Sheng, shouting, "I'll help you block him, go quickly." Saying that, he has already leaned towards Jian Wushuang. Sabo was also anxious, punching through Garda's chest, completely losing the opponent's combat effectiveness. His figure flashed, he wanted to chase Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's supernatural power enveloped Dan Bao and Wu Li, who rushed. The wings behind him suddenly shook, and he jumped to the 9 layers of heaven. One thought of the universe. The universe comes to perfection. 3 shocks in the universe. The wings on the back opened completely, and the first shock rushed out of a distance of the universe. The 3 shocks are over. The 3 of them couldn't feel Sabo's breath anymore. Sabo, who was staying in place, looked surprised at the disappearing universe. The man ran away, and the Dragon Ball was gone. There was only one Jada who had lost combat power, and Li Sheng who was seriously injured. "Brother Sabo, blame me this time, I really didn't resist." Li Sheng dragged his seriously injured body and walked over. This time, his performance, even for Gula to see, couldn't fault it. Although Sabo was very angry, he was the strongest existence in this place. He couldn't catch up with Jian Wushuang's speed just now, and it was strange that Li Sheng could stop him. "Forget it, this time it's my carelessness, first go back and report to the king." Sabo's supernatural power wrapped Li Sheng, and he rushed to the Balunga tribe where Gula was heading. It is also the tribe supported by Zack. But the battle is not fierce. Because this time Gula shot. The strongest Zack was seriously injured in one move. The 2 Five Tribulations in the tribe were also resolved by Gula's 2 Five Tribulations. My lord, Dragon Ball found it. With a movement, Gula recruited the Dragon Ball and threw it on top of the throne. Then he sat on the throne. Kill the rest, wait until Sabo comes back. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt 2 breaths approaching. Sabo dragged Li Sheng to Gula, telling the story of what he had just encountered. Oh, the Belungia man holding the Dragon Ball. It seems that the previous tribe escaped, so where should they go? Gula dragged his chin and squinted his eyes. Seeing Zack lying on the ground, he said, Palunga, don't you say that someone in the Holy Land can defeat me? Why don't you treat me to the Holy Land? Don't think about it. Zack was already desperate. The power of 1,000,000 is too strong. Not an opponent at all. Now we can only wait for the Holy Land to gather all the strong to deal with the Gula. Gula raised his hand and pointed out, and directly pierced Zack's chest. A seemingly random blow, but completely destroyed Zack's origin and divine body. Go back to the camp first. Gula pondered for a while and decided to go back first. Now there are fewer and fewer people around him, and the efficiency is too low. However, he has already sent a message to the far north ice sheet, and his subordinates have already arrived with more powerful men. When the time comes, you can start with those tribes together. Then mobilize everyone to find the Holy Land. After hearing the order, Sabo hesitated and asked, My lord, are you waiting for Jinyu and the others? Guess it. The throne where Gula sat down turned and floated in the sky, and the group left the destroyed tribe with Dragon Balls. Sabo froze for a moment and followed him. Thinking of the strength of the Keanu group, he couldn't help but exhale deeply. The weakest of those people can hang him. The supernatural power of Jinyu himself can be compared to that of the king. If these people came to the Dragon God continent, then there will be no grass growing here. The camp at Galaku is actually an ancient relic. There is a natural barrier here. Of course, it is of no use to him. Li Sheng was teleported here at the beginning and met Gula. Returning to the resting place, he informed Gula about the loosening of his realm. Unexpectedly, Gula, Ishi gave him a lot of treasures that boosted his supernatural power. This made Li Sheng unexpected. Now the Gula is the most lacking person, can have an extra 5 tribulations realm, and can also contribute more. After Li Sheng settled down here, he informed Jian Wushuang of the specific situation of the place. Dragon God Continent, in the deep zephyr of the north. Jian Wushuang took Wu Li and Dan Bao on the road leisurely. The 3 of them, after walking for an hour, still haven't reached the holy place in Dan Bao's mouth. The main reason is that Dan Bao has never been to the Holy Land. It can only be found by the map that Zack passed to him. Jian Wushuang looked for Dan Bao while thinking about the situation on Gula's side. At the same time, he informed the Empress of his position. The time of the day is too slow. Moreover, the distance between the Empress and him has not changed since he fled so far. Little brother, you brought me along this way. I didn't know. I thought you were going to abduct the 2 of us. Wu Li complained while tapping Dan Bao's round head. Although Dan Bao took Wu Li's hand away several times, Wu Li insisted on putting his hand on it. It seems to be revenge for that foot. Jian Wushuang was also a little confused by the transfer. Just here, a breath suddenly came from afar. It's the breath of Elder Brew. Dan Bao also felt the breath. Not only are they looking for the Holy Land, but the strong in the Holy Land are also looking for them. Jian Wushuang also felt the breath of the other party. Both sides teleport at the same time. Meet by the way. Elder Brew. Dan Bao jumped off the flying carpet and ran over. Chapter 58-55. Jian Wushuang also raised his eyes to see that the other party was a young hard-covered Belunga tribe. When he heard the elder, he thought he would be an old man. I didn't expect to be so young, and the aura on his body was extremely powerful. It should be a powerhouse in the 6 tribulations realm. Dan Bao. Elder Beulah's voice was very gentle, placing his hand on Dan Bao's head. In an instant he felt what Dan Bao had experienced on this day. With tears in his eyes, Dan Bao looked up at Brew. At this moment he completely relaxed. At the end of the day, the tribe was destroyed. He watched the people who rescued him fall. It was a big blow to him as a child. Bulu touched Danbao's head and comforted him. You have suffered. For a child who hadn't experienced world affairs, it was indeed a big shock. After comforting Danbao, Bulu looked at Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. Thank you for protecting Danbao from the two benefactors. Please follow me into the Holy Land. The Great Elder is waiting for you. Bulu waved his hand, and a powerful divine power wrapped Jian Wushuang and Wu Li directly into another space. Jian Wushuang hasn't reacted yet. When they reappeared, they reached the foot of a huge mountain. Please inside. Bru waved his hand. Jian Wushuang nodded and followed Wu Li with him. After going up the mountain, he realized that the gravity here was as high as 10,000 times. Mortals cannot survive at all. At least it must be immortal. The tens of thousands of times the gravity here is not comparable to the gravity he had in those mundane worlds. The gravity here is calculated according to the standard gravity of time and space. The standard gravity of time and space is much stronger than those of the material world. 10,000 times of gravity, that is an extremely suitable training ground for penance. The closer you are to the top, the heavier the gravity. Dan Bao on the side was already struggling. Bulu introduced at this time. The gravity of Longshan Mountain is calculated according to the steps, and going up the mountain is 10,000 times, and then each step will double the gravity of the space-time standard. One step double? Jian Wushuang looked up at the road to the top of the mountain. There are at least 100,000 orders here. That is 100,000 times the gravity. The emperor couldn't climb up. It just corresponds to the divine power. 100,000 times the gravity is 100,000 times the divine body. It is a place of tempering for juniors. But for him and Wu Li, it was the same as usual walking. It makes no difference. Dan Bao's divine power is only 50,000, and he can't hold it in the middle of it. It was still Bulu wrapping Dan Bao with his divine power, and stepped to the top of the mountain. After reaching the top of the mountain, Jian Wushuang found that there was only one place on the top of the mountain, the oval stone house. There was no building. I have to say that the sacred place of the Palunga tribe is extremely simple. Not much different from the ordinary tribe. I originally thought that the Holy Land would be very different from the tribe, but I didn't expect it to be inferior to the tribe. Benefactor, Great Elder, please? When Jian Wushuang and others reached the top of the mountain, they thought the young Belungia had walked out of the room, bowed to him, and was extremely polite. Jian Wushuang also clasped his fists slightly, and then walked in with Wu, Blue and Dan Bao also followed. After entering the room, the decoration is even simpler. There is only one huge throne. Sitting above the throne is naturally the Great Elder of the Palunga tribe. The size of the Great Elder is also extremely huge. Rumor has it that this Great Elder was the only descendant left by the dragon god before his death. And the entire Belunga clan was created by this Great Elder. It is an amazing existence. However, the founder of the Palunga tribe was not good at fighting. The strength is just ordinary robbery. Maybe the 3 tribulations never happened. But the lifespan is beyond the 7 tribulations realm of the human race. With such a living fossil, Jian Wushuang couldn't help but bow when he saw it, and said in a very respectful tone, Human, Jian Wushuang pays homage to Elder Belunga. Human, thank you for saving Dan Bao and also keeping our holy artifacts. The voice of the Great Elder was very hoarse, and when he was angry, he was weak. Very weak. Jian Wushuang was struggling to see the other party talking, so he was not polite, and directly said his intention this time. Of course, he first exaggerated the power of Gula, and then talked about the secret of the human race here. This can be said completely, and the Guma school has not stipulated that they cannot communicate with the powerful in the infinite world. He originally thought that after telling the secret of the infinite world, the other party would be surprised. As a result, the Belungia people present, except Dan Bao, were extremely indifferent. Apparently, I knew it a long time ago. And he knows more about human race than him. Go up to 9 heavens and 10 earth, down to the 16 kingdoms of grass. Is a knower. But for Gula, they know less. At least, after he told the horror of Gula, no one refuted it. The elder on the throne recalled, The frozen demon race you are talking about should come from the Arctic ice plain. No wonder the devil who was sealed by the dragon god came to the Dragon Ball. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was also taken aback, but he didn't expect this great elder to know. He also understood the origin of Gula. No wonder he didn't find information about Gula from the memories of those wild beasts. The emotional partner has just arrived in the Dragon God continent. Similar to him, they are all outsiders. It's just that Gula's strength is so strong. Why does the Gumu faction keep him here? Why not get Gula out? Gula's normality, millions of supernatural powers. After transforming, it is the combat power of the Seven Tribulations realm standard. It is really wasteful to stay in the infinite world. Unless it is the Gumu sect who intends otherwise. He never knew this. Judging from this sacred meeting in Ancient Wood Continent alone, in fact, the overall strength of the entire Ancient Wood Continent is very average. If Emperor Bobby was the reason, he could even take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of the old nest of the Ancient Wood School. Just a half-dead 8 Tribulations realm, and several 7 Tribulations realm universe masters. The Ancient Wood sect's master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe was not there, and the Iron Guts was just neutral, and the Yunji Kingdom Lord who had just broken through would not participate in the Gumu sect's affairs. If he were Emperor Bobby, he would definitely bring someone to the Gumu sect to forcefully break the 10,000 Willows Shinmu. There is so much vitality in Wanlu. It can be said to be infinite. If you get Wanlu, maybe Bobby D will be able to perfect the method of sabotage. At that time, it will be possible to unify the time and space of the 9 major universities, will not be impossible. The number of robbers is 10 times more than that of the Master of the Universe. Let's talk about Gumu School. In the 7 Tribulations realm, there are no 180. But there is only one Master of the Universe. The 6 Tribulations realm is even more exaggerated. Thousands of scattered calamities, only a few of the Masters of the Universe in the 6 Tribulations realm. This is the bottom line of the veteran forces. Let the Lord of the Universe fight, and then feed a bunch of waste. Fortunately, the emerging forces have many Masters of the Universe. Calculating this way, the human race is actually inferior to those alien powerhouses on the wild continent. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-56. It's like which wave wheel plus the first strong Elder Brew. His combat power is even stronger than the Lord of the Universe in the 6 Tribulations realm. After hesitating again and again, Jian Wushuang also announced the detailed plan. Cooperate. Win-win. Of course he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to return Belungia's holy artifact. But there is still confidence in protecting the Belungia people. Just wait for the female emperor to come, inform the female emperor of this matter, and inform everyone who is strong in the clan. This time it was half done. Otherwise, Gula would be able to defeat them all alone. Of course, when he said this plan, he still didn't have much confidence. Elder Bruce also felt a little ridiculous standing aside. A little guy with a normal state of 400,000 supernatural powers, but said a plan to protect them. The great elder on the throne is particularly trusting Jian Wushuang. Blue, order to go down and let all the elders of the tribe bring the Dragon Ball back to the holy ground. After the elder said, he also took down a Dragon Ball above the throne. There are currently 2 in the Holy Land. One was brought by Jian Wushuang and the other was guarded by the great elder. Plus the 3 that Gula got. There are currently 4 out. Must gather to the Holy Land. It's too dangerous outside. This is part of Jian Wushuang's plan. First gather all the existing Dragon Balls together, and then let the strong people cast a rat avoidance weapon. Plus the strength of the Belunga clan. It's impossible not to cooperate with the strong human race. In fact, he didn't have much confidence at the beginning because he was only an emperor. Even if he took advantage of the power of the female emperor, he couldn't bring all the strong people together. Some means must be used. He is not polite to the so-called self. After such a brief contact, he would rather believe in the strong of the Belunga tribe than the strong in the human race. Great Elder Gao Yi, when my majesty arrives, he must wave the flag to summon all the races to gather together, Cooperate with the noble and powerful and defeat the Gula. Jian Wushuang is really happy, but the layman does not need to participate in the war. Do not participate in the war, drive everything behind. After Elder Bulu heard what the great elder said, he didn't hesitate to take out the crystal of transmission. This made Jian Wushuang very impressed. The opponent is the first strongest player in Buluan, and, just by looking at his face, I feel that the opponent's personality is definitely not a good thing. I originally thought that the other party would definitely not agree and would waste a bit of tongue. I didn't expect to obey the words of the great elder so much. This made Jian Wushuang very impressed. The strong are not necessarily the wise. The strength of an ethnic group requires the strong. But the longevity of an ethnic group requires wise men. Things are half done. He also relaxed and winked at Wu Li, who was aside, and his eyes couldn't hide the excitement. Naturally, Wu Li was also very happy. If you can't fight, it's better not to fight. He wants to let the Empress take him to lie down and win now. The two have not been happy for long. On Brus's side, something went wrong. Elder, please take a look at this. Bulu looked embarrassed and handed the crystal ball to the elder. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li also looked over. It's just that the two of them are not Palunga people. Can't see the picture on the crystal ball. The great elder didn't look at the crystal ball, just put his hand on it and then opened his eyes. Human benefactor, your majesty in your mouth, is this woman. Balungia's grand elder shook the crystal ball, and a figure appeared above him. After seeing that cold face, Wu Li nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, this is my majesty." He is by no means weaker than Elder Bru. Wait for her. Before he finished speaking, Jian Wushuang stopped Wu Li. Just as Wu Li was about to ask why he had to stop him, he saw the red ball with one hand on the waist of the Empress, and his face froze. Elder, actually I don't know her very well. Jian Wushuang squeezed out a smile, then said, "Your heart." The divine power in Bulu burst out, and he leaped behind the two of them, carrying Jian Wushuang and Wu Li with each hand just like a little chicken, and mentioned in front of the great elder. "Don't be rude." The great elder shook his head, but there was a trace of sadness in his eyes, because one of their tribes had just been wiped out. It was the Empress in Jian Wushuang's mouth. This also represents the collapse of the plan. After the tribe of Balunga was destroyed, it would be impossible to cooperate anymore. But Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were innocent, and they both saved Dan Bao. Elder, I suspect that they can communicate with the outside world and can't stay in the Holy Land. Bulu reminded him. He had already seen that Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were not like good people. Just kept holding back without saying. Now the Terran has begun to slaughter the Palunga people. If it weren't for the fact that he had been kept in the dark when he was informing about the tribe, when the Dragon Ball had been brought to the Holy Ground, and any female emperor would be brought in, their Palunga tribe would be in danger. After the elder was silent for a long time, his voice hoarsely said, "Two benefactors, here are some treasures. You can take these treasures and leave. It is a gratitude from my Palunga tribe." This can be regarded as a tactful utterance. Hurrying to get out of the treasure with the treasure neither owes each other. The next time I encounter it, I will be a mortal enemy. After seeing the treasures, Wu Li was already a little tempted. But Jian Wushuang is not reconciled. Such a perfect plan has just fallen through. Feng Chen, you misunderstood me. He was no longer annoyed. If he knew it, he had told the other party about the plan first. Now it's like this. It's all over. What kind of treasures the great elder took out? He doesn't like it at all. I don't want it either. He has reached the limit of the emperor. What is bad is not a treasure, but an opportunity. Opportunity to hit the robbery. I don't have time to practice now. I can only wait for the opportunity. Collecting 9 dragon is an opportunity. He is not only for the Fengchen Empress, but also for himself. It's good now. Let's die together. He is already able to foresee the future, not his time Mahayana, but the ending that everyone can see. Gula and the Terran besieged Palunga. Loot the Dragon Ball. After killing Buluan and adding people, it is a struggle between the two sides. On the human race side, the strongest is the Empress, the only master of the 6 tribulations realm universe. The divine power of the female emperor is 1,000,000. As soon as he broke through, he reached the pinnacle of the six tribulations realm. But this is not enough. After Gyula's transformation, his strength skyrocketed. The female emperor couldn't stop it. Left those stinky fish and shrimps, so there is no need to mention it. At that time, Gyula won a big victory. All Terrans have lost. The task is impossible to complete, and there is no need to think about the position of the saint. The position of the saint. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. The saint of the previous generation seemed to be the master of the universe of six tribulations. Is the position of this saint really that important? Not necessarily. Now the task of this group is more important than the position of the saint. This may be the most difficult task of all the holy congregations. 7 stars. This is the first time. Chapter 58-57. This is the first and perhaps the last 7-star mission. Let them meet, it could have been well grasped. It turned out to be what it is now. Elder, let me give thanks, we don't want to leave, this time I am willing to stand on the side of the Balunga clan. Jian Wushuang directly took out the token. He threw it to Bruce casually. He is not leaving. Go out and follow the Empress. Sooner or later, she will be killed by Gyula. It is better to stay in the holy place to practice. He didn't do anything, he wanted to see what chaos in the Dragon God continent would become. Wu Li hesitated. His understanding of the frozen demon race was only from Jian Wushuang's mouth, and he didn't think it was so outrageous. The tree man in his body reminded him again at this time and made him give up his plan to go out. Also took out the token. Thanks. The benefactor underestimated my Buluanjaran. Please take back the token. You can stay in the Holy Land as long as you want. If any strong man of the frozen demon race breaks the Holy Land, I hope you can bring Danbao with you. To leave the Dragon God continent, it is best to take him to 9 heavens and 10 places. Jian Wushuang nodded, didn't say much, but the meaning was clear. As long as he can stand, he won't let Danbao lie down. When it comes to protecting people, he still has a hand. Blue was also very surprised this time. He didn't expect that the Great Elder would leave Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. But I dare not go against it. After thanking the Great Elder, Bulu asked Danbao to take the two of them down to the top. On the way down the mountain, Wu Li directly asked, Brother Wushuang, do you have any plans? No. Jian Wushuang didn't hide it either, he really had no plans anymore. He has given up his heart now. The Great Elder of Balunga was able to say the kind of words just now, and he might have foreseen something. Perhaps the Palunga tribe will perish, and the Terran tribe will also fail. When the time comes, they have to run away again. Wu Li was a bit unwilling and didn't care about Danbao, and said bluntly, It's better for us to take refuge in that Gura. Brother Li Xing is pretty good. If you don't refine some conversion pills, let's work together. Let's take refuge in Gyula. His abacus is pretty good. At least Jian Wushuang was amused. After taking refuge in the Gura and gathering the Dragon Balls, they are useless. At that time, he shall not be blasted. The extremely clever Danbao also smiled. After Wu Li saw it, he touched Danbao's head and said, Why, you want to betray? Don't be ashamed of it, the men that Gyula needs are to find Dragon Balls. We have found all the Dragon Balls, so what are they doing? He asked in a rhetorical question and directly killed Wu Li. Danbao took the two of them to a small courtyard halfway up the mountain and said, Benefactor, this is your residence. If you have any needs, please tell me. I will live here during this time. This place is really good. Jian Wushuang pushed aside the yard and was very satisfied after seeing the layout. The environment has nothing to say, cultivation is also first class. Near the cliff, there is not only a pavilion for the wind, but also a hot spring. Wu Li walked into the pavilion carelessly, looked around, and nodded and said, It's really good, it's quite suitable for elderly care. This sentence is to remind Jian Wushuang. The goal of the two of them is Wanlu. Although I am a little passive now, I can't live without any plans. Let's hide here. He obviously wanted Jian Wushuang to come up with an idea. Danbao, you can call me Jian Wushuang from now on, no longer need to be called a benefactor, you don't owe us anything. Benefactor, The two words are too harsh. It was Wu Li's intention to save Danbao in the first place. The reason for the rescue was to inquire about the location of other Dragon Balls from the opponent's mouth. The ideas are dirty, and then let others call the benefactor all day long. Wu Li didn't blush, he blushed. Okay, benefactor Jian Wushuang. Danbao nodded. Jian Wushuang sighed and said casually, "Do you have any alcohol in the Palunga tribe?" "Yes, Elder Bulu will refine it, he'll get it now." Danbao finished speaking and trot out of the yard. Looking at the disappearing back, he secretly sighed the other party's dexterity. Knowing that he was going to say something to Wu Li, he left directly. Backhand took out 2 jugs of good wine and handed it to Wu Li. "You have wine, let Danbao help you find it?" Wu Li took the wine bottle, smelled it, and asked in surprise. Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes and said helplessly, "Don't you want to listen to my plan? You can't speak to that little guy." "That's right." Wu Li suddenly became energetic, and he had a plan, at least it made people feel at ease. Jian Wushuang tore off the clothes casually, walked into the hot spring. The moment he entered the hot spring, he immediately felt the divine power alive. Comfortable. Put your hands on the shore, tilt your head back, and take another sip of wine. This is simply his most comfortable time. Fight and kill all day long. Never thought about it, enjoy it. Wu Li also tore off his clothes at this time and jumped in. What? He closed his eyes comfortably and leaned back across from Jian Wushuang. Really comfortable. For a while, I forgot to ask about the plan. The two of them soaked in the hot spring comfortably and fell asleep unknowingly. Danbao deliberately delayed for a while before he walked in. They found that Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were asleep in the hot spring, and they didn't want to bother anymore. After putting down their drinks, they quietly walked out of the yard. With this feeling, Jian Wushuang slept extremely easily, without any worries. I didn't know how long I lay down, but the sky was getting dark anyway. When I opened my eyes, I saw the stars in the sky. Seeing Wu Li was still asleep, he didn't mean to wake the other party. Turning his head and glanced at the direction of the room, there was a candlelight. It should be Danbao. He got up gently, took out a loose robe, and sat in the Chengfeng pavilion to drink alone. The identity token keeps jingling. News of the Empress and Li Xing kept coming. He was not in a hurry. First glanced at the message sent by Li Xing. Danger, danger, danger. Keanu. Just a person's name. However, according to Li Xing, Jinyu is Gyula's strongest subordinate, a special being in the 6 Tribulations realm. From the Arctic ice sheet. In addition to Jinyu, there are also several 6 Tribulations realm and 105 Tribulations realm. This is almost enough for the Terran team to drink a pot. It is indeed very dangerous. Even if his previous plan is established, he may not be an opponent. Gyula's advantage is too great. Now the entire Dragon God continent is in chaos. The melee of countless strong men. The news from the Empress is very simple. It's about Dragon Ball. Then came the cooperation of the human race. After seeing the news, they quickly went to a place where the human race was assembled. The most important thing is to bring Dragon Ball. It seems to have met Gula. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-58. Originally, he thought that the double hair would tacitly seek out the holy land of Balunga. Now it seems that Gula feels that he has too much advantage, and he doesn't pay attention to the human race at all. The strong under his hands, the strong who constantly slaughtered Balungia, and the human race were all cleaned up. It was a perfect thing to work with the Balunga tribe. Such a pity. Why don't you call me? Wu Li in the hot spring complained after waking up. His supernatural power shook and evaporated the water droplets on his body, put on a piece of clothing, and sat across from Jian Wushuang, picking up the drink on the table. Just took a big sip. Tell me what you think. Wu Liruan snorted and began to question the plan mentioned during the day. He was actually more anxious than Jian Wushuang. Now I feel more and more stressed. The same is true for the tree in the body. I thought that this holy meeting would be the same as before. The result has changed since the Roman River. Just such a powerful person in the 6 Tribulations realm, let them meet. Forget it, when I came to the Dragon God continent, I even encountered the #1 powerhouse in the infinite world. It's fine if you pass the Dragon God continent quietly. The key ancient Wood continent also issued a group mission. The core of the mission happened to conflict with Gula. Wu Li's strength and whole cards have long been insufficient. Now it is the 6 tribulations realm, and the situation cannot be shaken. Can only listen to Jian Wushuang. My plan is very simple. Practice hard and become the 8 tribulations realm as soon as possible. Jian Wushuang poured a sip of strong wine, just like talking nonsense. Wu Li really believed the key, staring at Jian Wushuang with serious eyes, and said solemnly, "Are you going to hit the tribulation realm?" Jian Wu double-faced startled, and found that the other party really believed it, and suddenly felt a headache. If you break through now, it is really hopeful, but is it a bit risky to cross the 8 calamities at a time? It's better to cross the 7 calamities first and be safe. Wu Li said the same. He almost believed it himself. He interrupted the other party quickly, and then explained, "How can it be so easy to hit the tribulation realm? If I could, I would have charged early." But there was one thing he was quite sure, that when he arrived at the tribulation realm, it would not be a problem to cross the 5 tribulations at once. At that time, he should go to find other people and then return to Qi Shindian together. To reach the 6 tribulations realm, it is almost stable. The premise is that after Fan Tianfeng returns, he can test the strength of extinction. Something is far away. Jian Wushuang shook his head, sobered himself up for a while, and told the story of the Empress and Li Sheng. Let Wu Li also help him think about countermeasures. Well, let's run. Wu Li recognized the current situation and took the initiative to say how to enter Wanlu. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed when he heard it, but unexpectedly received the goods. He finally got to know a little bit about entering Wanlu. According to Wu Li, the vitality needed to enter Wanlu is actually just 1 step. More importantly, 2 practitioners are needed to infuse the origin into the willow together, and both practitioners must have vitality. How do you know that there is life force in my source? Jian Wushuang grasped the point at once and stood up directly. This matter is too big. The power of his life was an absolute secret in Guyu time and space. Even if the treasure of time and space is exposed, the life force cannot be said. Seeing his reaction, Wu Li quickly pulled him to sit down and explained, "Don't blame your brother for hiding from you. Today, I told you the truth. The senior tree in my body is my teacher." Yes, but do you know his identity? I don't know. Jian Wushuang shook his head, his ears were already erected, and he waited for Wu Li's explanation. Guru. At this time Wu Li was not in a hurry. He drank a sip of strong wine to moisturize his throat, then lowered his voice and said, "Remember the Lord of Hengmu that I said at the beginning?" "Of course." Jian Wushuang nodded. It was because of a story about Wu Li that he chose to cooperate with each other. He entered the Guyu time and space. The first entry point was Wanlu. Then around Wanlu, this series of things happened. Entering the Qinjianmen to cast an identity, first fawned on the elder Mukin, and then entered the village, and then went to Shirgua to refine the sword blank. His strength is also skyrocketing. Finally, see, the holy meeting came to the infinite world. Everything is paving the way for Wanlu. It was such a rumor that he would dare to fight like this. Wu Li was also very moved, so he chose to tell him something. The tree man is the Lord of Hengmu? Jian Wushuang guessed what at this moment and asked directly. Wu Li nodded heavily, and then continued, "And my teacher almost became the 8 tribulations realm back then. This is even worse than rumors. And the Lord of Hengmu is outrageous if he is still alive. The rumors are gone." From Wu Li's explanation, he gradually understood. At the beginning, the Lord of Crosswood, in the Willows, got a treasure that could change his fate against the sky. He is cautious, not daring to expose, and has been suppressing the realm. I'm afraid of being discovered. But in the end it was discovered. The original Shenmu king personally came to the Lord of Constant Wood, who had severely injured half a step in the 8 tribulations realm. Later, the Lord of Hengmu suspended himself and met Wu Li, who was still mundane, and lodged in Wu Li's body. Later, there was the Wu family of Yu Kingdom. Compared to the layout of the 2 of them, The Lord of Eternal would had already begun to make arrangements before the billions of times. And the two of them are just guides. How against the sky is this treasure? Jian Wushuang's voice was also low. In the bottom of my heart I was wondering, could it be the treasure of time and space? It's really possible. Just talk about his Guantian chessboard. The help given to him is almost infinite. The emperor does not need to practice. The origin of those chess pieces is free to comprehend, and the strength is strong and can swallow those origins to improve one's origin. Ask yourself, if he is more ordinary, it's just like an ordinary Tianjiao. With the Guantian chessboard, can it become a half-step 8 tribulation realm? This may depend on some luck. The first true king at the time had a Guantian chessboard. But it was only half a step into the 6 tribulations realm. He belongs to the bad luck. Had it not been for Qixin and Miexing, Moruo's time and space would not be destroyed. Perhaps, the first true king can also be promoted. But even so, there is still a gap with the Lord of Hengmu. Half a step and 8 tribulations. Still being seriously injured by King Shenmu. That treasure was also taken away by King Shenmu. If it weren't for Shenmu King's kick in halfway, perhaps the Lord of Hengmu could really become the Lord of the 8 tribulations realm universe. Wu Li lowered his voice again and cautiously said, I don't know much about the specific function of this treasure, but my teacher has told me that it can give Sanjir its origin, prolong Sanji's life, and increase it. Supernatural power. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-59. What? Jian Wushuang shouted directly. If this were true, it would be horrible. Shenmu King has this kind of treasure, but he has been showing weakness to the outside world. There must be some conspiracy, or the Shenmu King himself can't protect the treasure. Once exposed, he is worried that the masters of the universe in the 8 tribulations realm will it. Keep your voice down, the pattern your pattern. Wu Li quickly pulled him down and then said, This is just for Sanjia. My teacher had been in control for so long, but couldn't find out the treasure. But my teacher said that if he keeps mastering that treasure, he is expected to break through the 9 calamities. Jian Wushuang was completely stunned this time. 9 tribulations. The more you talk, the more ridiculous. Gu Yu time and space, the only 9 tribulations realm, is which celestial woman. And also fell. For such a long time, he has not been able to break through a 9 tribulations realm. It wasn't that he looked down on the Lord of Hengmu, but that he was a little bit suspicious that Wu Li was exaggerating. Exaggerate to deceive him into the game. 9 tribulations realm, that is a great temptation for everyone. Jian Wushuang is the same. The road of Guyu Shikong was broken. But his way was not broken. Guyu time and space is just a springboard for him to hit the 9 great time and space. If I had enough strength, I patted Mayan left. It is impossible to stay in Guyu time and space all the time. He could also see the current Guyu time and space. Constantly getting weaker. Maybe sometime, a wave of deceitful corpses by the goddess ruined the entire Guyu time and space. It's better to leave early. The premise is that he becomes the Lord of the universe and then finds all the people he brought. You can't just pat your and leave alone, and you don't care about everyone else. 9 tribulations realm, forget it. He directly shook his head and gave a wry smile. He has confidence in himself, that is justified. It's impossible for him to believe Wu Li's words. Wu Li looked serious and said, Brother Wushuang, don't you believe me? Don't believe it. He shook his head. He also heard a lot about Guyu time and space from Weiss. That one is a god. He doesn't even believe God's words. How can you believe in Wu Li? Wu Li, who was a little embarrassed, cleared his throat and said, You don't believe this, then do you believe this? After speaking, I took out a treasure from the mustard seeds. Said it is a treasure, it is actually a leaf. Is this? Jian Wushuang frowned, took the leaf, pondered carefully and said in shock, Could this be Wanlius willow leaves? Wu Li chuckled lightly and nodded. This is really the leaves of Wanlu, which was picked off when the Lord of the Crosswood left the Shenmu Wanlu. I made a lot of it at the beginning. I used it later when I broke through, and now there is only one piece left, and I have to take out Huyo Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang stared at the willow leaves, His eyes flickered when he saw the lines above. Entered directly into the epiphany. This willow leaf has the true meaning of time. This is the core of the breakthrough. Break through with the true meaning of time. Master the time. Seeing this willow leaf, his mind instantly turned pale. Recalling the original understanding of time, it was simply crooked to my grandma's house. The realm of space is mainly divided into stars, black holes, and universe. The division of time is extremely mysterious. It can be said that each has its own understanding. Everyone is different. At this moment, he instantly realized his true meaning of time. Getting started, Jian Wushuang murmured. In such a trance, he actually stepped into the origin of time. It's one step closer to hitting the robbery realm. He doesn't know the role of this willow, but it can give him an introduction to the origin of time at a glance. It is definitely the top treasure. How about it, believe it now? Wu Li said with a smile. Jian Wushuang shook his head. The other party didn't even know the key reason why the Nine Tribulations realm did not appear in Guyu time and space. But that willow leaf cannot be eaten as a meal. Wu Li was in a hurry and then said, Brother Wushuang, I'm all for this. Aren't we here for Wanlu? We can't give up halfway. It's not that I won't go. Jian Wushuang was also a little helpless. The other party is so anxious now that he will miss a major event. He didn't know that it was not Wu Li who was anxious, but Shuren. That is the Lord of Hengmu. Then what are you waiting for? Tidy up, let's go as the best policy? Wu Li was running with 2 fingers. Jian Wushuang was tangled in his heart. Now is not the time to be angry with the Empress, and the method Wu Li said right now is not impossible. Since the other party is confident, he originally followed Wu Li's plan and was able to easily run away. Finally, he gritted his teeth, drank the last sip of wine, and said firmly, Go! The 2 got up at the same time, and they were about to tell Dan Bao what they were leaving. But before the 2 of them went in and called Dan Bao had already walked out. 2 benefactors, are you leaving? Dan Bao widened his eyes and stared at the 2. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, The rest is almost the same, so I won't cause trouble to the nobles. Well, I'll report it to the great elder. After speaking, he turned around and prepared to leave. At this time, Wu Li reminded the sound transmission, should they not stop us? Why not sneak away? This suggestion was directly rejected by Jian Wushuang. This place is the holy land of the Palunga tribe, and how they both get out is a problem. It's better to be honest and tell the truth. Boom. In the sky, a cloud layer was shaken apart, and everyone below looked up. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were also surprised. Dan Bao, who was planning to go out and report the situation to the great elder, was also stunned. Then I heard Longshan Mountain, a long chime sounded, and the sky and the earth changed a layer of color. The night sky with shining stars suddenly turned into day. This is enemy attack. At this moment, not only Jian Wushuang and the others reacted, but the wave wheel enhancers of Long Shunshan skyrocketed one after another and reached the top of the mountain. They would never have imagined that human race and Gyula's men would find this place so quickly. But Jian Wushuang's plan had not yet been implemented, and once again declared a failure. This kind of unlucky thing happened to them all in one day. Go to the top of the mountain first to see the situation. Jian Wushuang's expression sank, and he could only temporarily change his plan. He wrapped Dan Bao with divine power, his wings shook behind his back, and he reached the top of the mountain. Wu Li also followed. When they reached the top of the mountain, they found out. Hundreds of Balungia people have gathered here. All of them looked gloomy, especially when they saw Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. Their eyes showed distrust. The people who attacked the Holy Land were the men of human race and Gula. Being able to find the Holy Land so quickly, these fighting-type Palunga tribes immediately began to suspect Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. This is also normal. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li could only huddled in the corner, not daring to say a word. Chapter 5860. This time, not only were they unlucky, but Balungia was also unlucky. The powerful men from the rest of the tribe had just gathered and brought the Dragon Ball to the Holy Land to avoid the disaster, and they were discovered by the men of the human race and the Gula. Now he is directly trapped in the Holy Land. I can't get out even if I want to go out. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were too embarrassed to say they left. The key is now that you can go if you walk. Not to mention whether people outside can let them go. Even the powerhouses of the Balunga clan will definitely not let the tiger go back to the mountain. Stay honestly. The strong on the top of the mountain continue to gather. Jian Wushuang's thought force swept lightly, and there were only 5 in the 6 tribulations realm alone. Maybe it can really be carried. As long as Gula doesn't make the shot himself. The first wave of offense should also be no problem. Brother Wushuang, why don't we go back again? Wu Li's eyes were erratic at this time, and his figure kept backing away. Jian Wushuang looked up and found that Baloo was walking towards them. Gently patted Wu Li's shoulder to make him stay steady, then walked over by himself and said, "Elder Bu, I need help to tell us both at any time." "Elder, please go in and talk," Baloo said calmly. Dan Bao also walked out of the elder's house at this time and nodded at him. He turned his head and winked at Wu Li, and then replied, "It just so happens that we also have something to say to the elder." He forced Wu Li and walked into the house of the great elder. After entering, I discovered that there were 5 older wave wheel intensifiers here. All are the pinnacles of the 5 tribulations realm. Apparently, it came from an outside tribe. In addition to these few, there is an acquaintance. I didn't expect the other party to be alive. In this way, the strength of the Balunga clan is much stronger than that of the human clan. On the human race side, there are quite a few strong people comparable to the 6 tribulations realm. But to truly reach the 6 tribulations realm, there is only one female emperor. The number is only 100 people. There are 5 of the 6 tribulations realm of the Balunga clan. There are dozens of experts in the 5 tribulations realm. In terms of single races alone, it is impossible to attack. It just depends on how powerful Gula's subordinates, Li Sheng said. Maybe it's really hopeful. After seeing Jian Wushuang and Wu Li coming in, the elder said with exhaustion, "2 benefactors, there is something, I hope you can tell me the Balunga." "Elder, please say." Jian Wushuang was straightforward, without deterring. This time the great elder did not speak, but looked at one of the tribe elders who was also quite old. Which elder was the elder Jones who Zack went to rescue? He paused and then asked, "Please tell us the information of the powerful outsiders. This will help us a lot. If this time we can to block the strong men of the human race and the men of Gula, the elders will personally send you away from the Dragon God continent." This. Wu Li was taken aback for a moment, and his expression was serious. "This is a bit unruly, right? We too saved you from the Palunga people. We can promise not to deal with the Palunga people, but betray the human race. Things, I'm afraid." Jian Wushuang also hesitated. The betrayal is small. What he was afraid of was cutting off his own back road. There are not many good people in those human races outside. Don't talk about betrayal. Even if he is asked to help the Balunga tribe to protect his homeland, he will not have much psychological burden. The only worry is that they are tied to a warship with the Palunga tribe, and the Palunga tribe will be over. What do they do? This is a very realistic thing. The Palunga tribe couldn't stop the Gula at all. He thought it would delay this time when the human race outside began to fight with Gula's men. But now that all the dragon from the outside have reached the Balungia Holy Land, there is nothing to fight for. The silent cooperation between the 2 parties has already explained the problem. Destroy the Balunga clan first, and then fight the male and female. These idiots. Jian Wushuang cursed secretly. The strong of the human race may not have noticed the strong of the Gula. Don't even understand the frozen demon race. I thought that if the Empress had 1,000,000 supernatural powers, she could be equal to Gula. It's ridiculous. Wu Li could not pay attention, and looked at Jian Wushuang again. It's true that I don't know much about the human races from the outside world. I only know some of the superficial strengths of the strong in some countries. The great elder should know that I am originally from the grassy 16 kingdoms. Jian Wushuang simply be honest. He really doesn't know much. It is almost enough to simply sell the powerhouses of the 16 nations. The 16 Kingdoms of Greengrass was created by the Master of the Universe of the 8 Tribulations realm. Later it was divided into 16 countries. The Eternal Kingdom is gone. Shurgwa's team was also wiped out. There are only 14 countries left. The strength is uneven. After throwing out the U Kingdom and the daughter who is kind to him abroad, there are only 12 countries left. Among the 12 kingdoms, he said all the strongest 5 Tribulation Realm Universe Masters. Of course, this combat power data is too simple. Who knows how strong their whole cards will be? Is there only these? Elder Jones shook his head and sighed. Forget it, there are some uses. You reading www.akanshu.com, something is better than nothing. Brew, who followed up, didn't take it seriously. The Lord of the Universe in the 5 Tribulations realm, he simply doesn't like it. Jian Wushuang was talking about Gyula's men. Dear elders, the threat of the 16 kingdoms is naturally not that powerful, but those of Gyula's subordinates have a few 6 Tribulations realm powerhouses. They should be the top powerhouses in the infinite world. Jian Wushuang raised his brows and told the story of Kinho. This special being in the 6 Tribulations realm brought many powerful people to the Dragon God continent from the Arctic ice sheet. Li Xing informed him of the news. Now he turned his head and gave it to the Palunga tribe. I am a little sorry for Li Xing. He originally planned to have a copy, but now there is nothing left. Li Xing also became embarrassed as one of Gyula's men. Without Jian Wushuang's support, it was useless at all. The ending is even more dark. What Jian Wushuang didn't know was that Li Xing was almost at the peak of the 5 Tribulations realm now. The future is promising. Even Gyula admired him very much. And Jinnu also agreed to take Li Xing to the Arctic ice field and become a demon saint. Li Xing is now entangled whether or not to follow the other party. It is not Li Xing that is dark, but Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. The two of them are now caught in the middle, extremely uncomfortable. Keanu? Elder Jones thought of something, then his eyes trembled and he reported to the Grand Elder. When Zack and I escaped, I felt a horrible atmosphere comparable to Gyula. It should be him with the least power. 900,000. When Bruce heard it, he clenched his fists and said nothing. The supernatural power of 900,000. The peak powerhouse of the 6 Tribulations realm. Similar to King Damyu. This strength is enough to dominate any place in the infinite world. Chapter 5861. Brooke, take someone with you to prepare for the battle. The 2 benefactors can leave at any time without any hindrance. If you need help, just say it. The elder closed his eyes when he finished speaking. Everyone bowed and saluted, and then walked out. Jian Wushuang followed Wu Li. Also walked out of the house together. As they all turned around, the great elder opened his eyes and stared at the backs of Jian Wushuang and Wu Li, and muttered in his heart, "Is my lifespan really tied to the Balunga clan?" The great elder thought of a legacy left to him by the Dragon God. The fate of the Palunga is not how strong the younger generation is, it is entirely in him. He can't hold on for long, originally calculated that he still has a lifespan of 10,000 years. But this time in crisis, he deduced the future. Life expectancy has dropped sharply again. It has been less than 100 years. But now the crisis of the Palunga tribe, let alone 100 years. Can't hold it for a year. Time is running out. But there was still a glimmer of hope, but he didn't dare to bet. If the legacy is true, he falls, and the Balunga tribe will be ruined. He had to gamble again. Now it only depends on the situation. Outside Longshan Mountain. The barrier has begun to loosen. Brew, who presided over the Long Shenshan formation, looked gloomy, and now he had to make a choice. Reduce the scope of the enchantment. Shrink to the top of Dragon God Mountain. Then go down to fight. Otherwise, no matter how small it is, it will be broken. At that time, we must protect other people, which is not conducive to fighting. Only take the initiative. All gathered on the top of the mountain, I will control the enchantment within the range of the top of the mountain, and then others will join me to fight against the powerful enemy. Bulu orderly ordered the rest of the strong to prepare for battle. Then he controlled the formation and began to shrink the enchantment. Outside the mountain, the strong human race headed by Empress Fengchen stood on the left. Gula took his men and stood on the right. Thanks, Tusk. It seems that we are going to take the initiative to attack. It's really interesting. Gula dragged his chin, waiting for the show to take place. Standing behind Gula, Jinnu was a burly figure with 2 threaded horns on top of his head, but he was not a frozen demon clan himself. With his hands around his chest, he stood there without anger and disdain, and said with disdain, "Great king, why don't you let me go and kill those strong human races first? It is really annoying to look at." Standing further behind, Li Sheng felt a cool breeze around his neck when he heard these words, and was also worried. Worried that the human race is over. He really can't go back. No, it's not necessary. Let's break through this place first. We have to come step by step. After Gula finished speaking, he raised his hand to point out, and a pole began not only to spread. It instantly turned into a scorching sun. The strong on the human side are still constantly attacking the enchantment. After discovering that Gula had taken the shot, they all backed away. The female emperor's brows were also frowned. Although she had already reached the 6 Tribulations realm, she had even completed the core mission in which ruins, reached the peak of the 6 Tribulations realm, and her divine power could reach 1,000,000. But under normal circumstances, there are only 900,000. But unlike Gula, he can explode millions of divine powers by condensing divine power at will. This made her extremely jealous of Gula. In addition to Gula, there is also Jinyu, who is equally powerful. On her side, she was too single. All are in the 5 Tribulations realm, lacking top combat power. Gula's condensed divine power sun is getting stronger and stronger, and it has reached the level of 1,000,000 divine power. The threshold of the 7 Tribulations realm. The barrier of Dragon God Mountain can resist, but it can't resist a few times. Gu at the top of the mountain also noticed Bulu, speeding up to shrink the enchantment and gather a stronger defense. Destroy it. Gula stood up, lifted his finger lightly, and threw the scorching black sun towards Longshan Mountain. The space was burned, leaking out the void. The black sun is constantly approaching the enchantment. Longshan was trembling. The entire Dragon God Mountain was originally a treasure, but it could not withstand such a powerful attack. The black sun collided on the barrier, constantly making strange noises. People outside are all curious, guessing whether this blow can break the barrier. The people of Dragon God Mountain are constantly gathering divine power and injecting them into the top of the barrier. Help Ru to shrink the barrier to the top of the mountain. Only in this way can we steadily resist this blow. Isn't this wave of Lunga clan known as the first ethnic group? This enchantment is too hip. Although Wu Li complained about it, he started very hard and constantly integrated his divine power into the enchantment. Jian Wushuang originally wanted to do this, but with his supernatural power, he was a little unsatisfactory. Even if it is 5 times the power of the beast god, it is only 600,000 divine power. Anyone in the 5 Tribulations realm on the court has 700,000 supernatural powers. However, there are also many 4 Tribulations realm powerhouses who are all elites of the Balunga tribe. Those who can stay in the Holy Land are very powerful. Even the 4 Tribulations realm has 600,000 divine powers. Jian Wushuang's strength is not too strong among these people. Boom! The bursting sound sounded, and the terrible power reached the peak. Beulas' eyes shrank, a golden light burst out of his body, and he blew the cloak around, shaking with a loud shout, and with his own power he shrank the enchantment directly to the top of the mountain. Ha! Bru took a few rough breaths, obviously shrinks the enchantment, and it is not that easy. Jian Wushuang frowned. He felt that the other party was too careful. Why waste your divine power? What should I do when I go out to fight? Just now he could feel that Brus's supernatural power reached 900,000. It is the Dragon God Mountain, and even the wave will plus the first combat power must be maintained at the peak. He wanted to rush up to restore the other party's supernatural power. Unfortunately, I can't do it. I can only lower my head and give a wry smile. Dan Bao stood at the back and saw that Brus's breath had dropped a lot. He walked up carefully, then put his hands on Brus's body, A green light burst, and Brus' divine power reached its peak in an instant. The rest of the Palunga tribe didn't think it was strange. But Jian Wushuang and Wu Li both dropped their jaws in shock. Life, Wu Li said in shock. Jian Wushuang looked at it carefully and corrected, it is the supernatural power of the transformation of all things. All things are transformed? The cold light in Wu Li's eyes flickered, and the tree man in his body began to be uncomfortable. After returning to his peak, Bulu touched Danbao's head, looked down at the opponent, and said softly, "Thank you." When I raised my head, my eyes glowed with a cold light. "Everyone, if we can sit on the Dragon God Mountain, we shall suppress the quartet and fight with me." Bru swiftly swiped, a formation appeared on the ground, turned his head and said, "Go!" Swish! Dozens of people on the top of the mountain left the place together. When it appeared again, it was already under the mountain. That warfare made Jian Wushuang tremble. At this moment, he wanted to join the Balunga clan and go down the mountain to fight. Seeing that everyone is gone, Wu Li's courage also grew, and he drew his fingers to the ground and said, "Little brother Danbao, can you open this barrier?" Chapter 5862. No, only the Great Elder and Elder Bru can open it. Danbao shook his head. Jian Wushuang walked to the edge of the cliff and looked to the outside world. Chaos. After the barrier was shrunk, the outside world was no longer visible. You can only perceive with your mind. It's a pity that I can't see this peak matchup anymore. Just when he was sorry, Danbao took out the crystal ball that everyone has in the Balunga tribe and squatted on the ground staring at the crystal ball. This makes Wu Li and him very envious. Danbao noticed the gaze he cast and said, "Benefactor, do you want to see it together? Can we see it too?" Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. They couldn't see the picture of the crystal ball. It seemed that only the strong of the Balunga clan could see the outside world through the crystal. Danbao nodded firmly and affirmed, "Of course you can. You only need to pour your mind power into this crystal ball to see the battle outside." "That's great." Wu Li walked over immediately, injecting a thought force. Jian Wushuang also followed. After injecting the power of thought, I saw the scene of the outside world as expected. Very magical, almost like a sky curtain. Looking down the crystal ball, he has reached the bottom of the mountain. Bru took the lead, behind more than 35 Tribulations Realm and hundreds of 4 Tribulations Realm powerhouses. But their opponents have more than 105 Tribulations Realm and 76 Tribulations Realm. This is not a Gula. Count Gula. They may not be able to hold a round. Gula didn't plan to participate in the war, but smiled with his head raised up and said, "It's really interesting. Kinho takes your people, get ready to go to war." After thinking about it, he added, "The rest of you, don't take action, otherwise it will be too boring." After speaking, he glanced at the strong man over there. He doesn't worry, the human race will produce more powerhouses. Sure enough, the female emperor saw that Gula didn't make a move, but let Jinyu and the other 5-6 Tribulation Realms make a move. She thought it was to save her strength, so naturally she wouldn't use more combat power. "Yao Yu, let you take the lead this time." The Empress turned her head and said to the Wolf King Yao Yue of the Sky Wolf clan. The powerhouses of the Sirius tribe were all taken aback, but they had no other choice. The powerhouses of the 16 Grass Kingdoms dispatched the powerhouses of the 4 nations, bringing together 6 5 Tribulation Realms and 72 4 Tribulation Realms. On the side of the Secret Realm, there were 36 5 Tribulations Realm and 404 Tribulations Realm strongmen. It can be regarded as 1/3 of the human side's combat power. It's almost the same as the Gula side. After all, Gula's subordinates are also those of Kinnu. Except for the 6 Tribulations Realm that Jinnu took, there were only a dozen 5 Tribulations Realm left. Fighting power is like air. This time the fight was just a test. If possible, the Empress hopes that these people will be finished with Jinyu and the strong men of the Balunga tribe. Then she took the rest and hoped to defeat Gula. Be the last winner. It's just that this idea is too ideal. Jian Wushuang, who was watching the battle, heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Gula didn't make a direct shot. At the same time, in my heart, I was also praying that Bulu could replace the strong man who participated in the war, so that the human side and the Gula might have infighting in advance. Because there are so many powerful people in the Balunga clan. All fell. The remaining Dragon Ball is what's in the bag. It was indeed the time when the human race and the Gula divided the victory and defeat. At that time, they will be able to watch another peak duel. It is even expected to influence the situation of the war. Jian Wushuang had already begun to gather energy. Be ready to go out and beat one side at any time. Of course, what he most hopes is that the human race can win. In this way, he can also cooperate with the human race and protect the rest of the Balunga race. Wu Li didn't think so. He shook his head and sighed when he saw the comparison of combat power. You think too much. Dan Bao retorted, no one wants a neutral party to exist. Even if the Gula is indifferent to this battle, he will not allow variables to happen, and I am a strong man of the Balunga clan. It may not be lost, it is impossible to sneak attack and be slaughtered. After speaking, he glanced at Wu Li contemptuously. Jian Wushuang also despised this. Despise Wu Li, there is no dignity of a strong man. If everyone is like this, there will still be fights, there will be no fights, then the strong will come. It would not be better for everyone to get stuck in the emperor and wait for death. Look at the battle first. The three of them sat around the crystal ball and unconsciously took out the fruit wine. Wu Li felt that something was missing and took out the hind legs of a wild beast from his mustard seeds. He set up a grill at random, put his hind legs in, and a magic flame rose up at the touch of a finger. Jian Wushuang just felt that this was a bit inappropriate, but the smell of meat wafted, and the desire to swallow the divine body was aroused, so he endured it. He took out a small bone knife and took the initiative, drinking and eating meat. The flesh and blood of this desolate beast contained a strong divine power. It's a pity that his divine power can't be improved now. Can only simply enjoy this delicacy. Dan Bao smelled the scent of meat and looked at Jian Wushuang with embarrassment. Jian Wushuang also understood very well, and took out a small knife inlaid with expensive gems and handed it over. The three were drinking, eating meat and watching the cruel struggle outside. Down the mountain, one after another, the terrifying power erupted. Fighting is on the verge of. Bulu stared at Gula, then looked at the female emperor on the human side, and spoke to the people behind. This is an opportunity. We must quickly solve these people. There is still a chance. Although he is not a wise Balunga tribe, Bru's fighting talent is extremely high. The opponent used the worst refueling tactics. It is indeed their opportunity. Just take advantage of the time when the opponent hasn't reacted, and burst out in an instant, killing all these opponents in the battle, or seriously injuring them. Can't be dragged. Dragging will be fought by wheels. The people behind nodded secretly. The plan has been made. On the other hand, the strong people on the human side and the genie side are very relaxed. Jinnu moved his wrist and said, "The strongest one, leave it to me, and you will share the rest. That thin man, leave it to me. I'll deal with the fat guy." They seemed to be dividing up their prey. The strong man on the human side was delighted in his heart after hearing this. Picking out all the 6 tribulations realm, then the remaining 5 tribulations realm would be nothing to worry about. The demon moon of the Sirius tribe is the strongest, and has more than 45 tribulations realm powerhouses, while on the Balungia side there are only more than 35 tribulations realm. Some have to be separated to deal with the 6 tribulations realm. There are less than 20 people left. On the human side, there are twice as many people. And each is the master of the universe, and the combat power is also stable. The advantage lies in the human race. Bru also felt the fighting spirit of Kinho, immediately shouted and rushed first. Kill! The people behind followed along. Kill, kill, kill. The shout shook Long Shenshan. Chapter 5863. Jinnu led the people, directly stopped several 6 tribulations realm powerhouses headed by Bru, and chose to fight in midair. The 5 tribulations realm is below, mingled with the 4 tribulations realm. As soon as the battle started, it was already a little messy. Although there are many strong people on the human side, they don't have any tactics. Basically, they are fighting each other. A small circle was drawn out. The strong on the side of the country huddled together for warmth. The side of the secret realm is not so united and is not familiar with it at all and can only fight separately. This gave the Buluan family a great advantage. Elder Jones and Zakri continued to shuttle, each attracting more than 10 Five Tribulations realm powerhouses. This also eased the rest of the Balunga clan's powerhouses. Elder Jones and Zack are both in the Five Tribulations realm, and their supernatural power is only about 750,000. It is not at all an opponent of dozens of Five Tribulations realm cosmos masters. But they just want to procrastinate, drag until Brew broke out. The core battle is still in the sky. Blue versus Kinu. The four great sons of Balunga Holy Land are the 5 and 6 tribulations brought by Jinyu. The core battle circle is currently flat. The battle between Keanu and Blue has just begun, and the winner is not so fast. And Jinyu didn't show up all his strength, he has been playing around with Blue. I originally thought your strength was good, but I didn't expect it to be so weak. Jinyu dodged Bru's punch, raised his foot and kicked Bru's chest, directly kicking Brew into the battle group of the Five Tribulations realm below. But this kick hits Bru's arms. Bulu, who fell into the strong human race, stretched out his hand, fell from the top, and pushed deeply, killing several Five Tribulations realm strong in an instant. Standing in the sky, Jinyu also noticed Bru's small movements, but he didn't take it seriously. However, in order not to waste time, I went down slowly and took the initiative to search for Blue. Elders Zack and Jones attracted dozens of Five Tribulations universe masters behind them, and they had already arrived at Bru's side. The three nodded each. Beulah's hands emitted countless light waves, directly impacting the Lord of the Five Tribulations realm universe who overtook him. Boom, boom, boom. The human side suffered heavy losses in an instant. The Empress frowned too. But she was not going to send anyone to support. Because she had already seen it, Gula didn't care about the battle at all. Moreover, the people of Kinho have also been teasing the strong men of the Balunga tribe. In that case, let them play well. It's better to be finished together. You coward, can you only bully the waste of the Five Tribulations realm? Jinyu swooped down and reached the ground. Stopped Brew's attack. Raising his hand, he said that the divine light wave sent by Brew bounced off. If you don't sweep away these trash fish, I don't want to fight with you. Brew sneered, and the speed skyrocketed and pulled away again. Begin to behead the Five Tribulations realm on the side of the secret realm. The powerhouses of the four great nations have already retreated to the extreme edge, afraid of affecting themselves. Jinyu threw himself into the air again, his face became cold, and he wanted to kill a few Balunga strong men, but found that those Balunga strong men were hiding behind Brew. This makes him extremely annoyed, this is to look down on him. Avoid the battle. If this is the case, then I will help you. Jinyu leaked his fangs, looked at the surrounding Five Tribulations, stretched out 2 fingers, suddenly lifted, and a terrifying power instantly swept around. Whether it is the strong on the human side or the strong on the Wave Wheel Plus side, all have turned into powder. Even the Dragon Mountain was split in half. The 3 people watching the battle on the top of the mountain quickly picked up the hip flask on the ground, worried about spilling the wine. How about it, can you fight me now? Kinho stretched out his hand, his face grim. Brew didn't expect the opponent to be so ruthless, attacking directly and indiscriminately. Seeing this scene, the Empress took a deep breath without saying anything. To her, this is nothing. In order to become a saint, she gave up a lot. Gu can never lose this time. No amount of death can be said. Moreover, the strong people of the kingdom behind her, or the strong people of the secret realm, are also watching with cold eyes. Almost all the strong people who participated in the battle of the human race were on the whole team. No one left behind. Anyway, I went there and there was no one of my own below. At this time, who will speak to them? It's best to die. The strong human race on the field is also unlucky. Without the protection of the Six Tribulations realm, it is just a lamb that has been slaughtered. After Brui's bullying, Jinwoo also came to join in the fun. Thank you. A smile leaked from the corner of Bru's mouth, and he rose directly into the air. Most of the 5 Tribulations realm on the ground are the strong men of their Palunga tribe. If you don't go up, after Jinwoo is about to do something against the 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse of their Palunga tribe. Upon seeing this, Kinho also soared into the sky, and once again fought with Bruce. Elder Jones and Zack had a sullen face, surrounding the 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse on the human race side. Now they are the advantage. There were only 7 or 8 5 Tribulation realm powerhouses left on the human race. They couldn't retreat without the order of the Empress. Retreat, I am afraid that the Empress will kill them. I knew so, why bother to see this gluttonous feast? There are already 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse desperate. This time the fight of the Holy Meeting has just begun. In the past few scenes of annihilation of the team was staged scene by scene. The 5 Tribulations realm powerhouse of the Palunga tribe with huge advantages chooses to drag some human races one-on-one with the 5 Tribulations realm master of the universe. The rest are going to besiege the remaining 5 Tribulations realm universe masters. Very efficient. In just one stick of incense, all the 40 masters of the universe on the human side were beheaded. The Lord of the Universe in the 4 Tribulations realm had the same fate. Awful. Except Jian Wushuang and Wu Li watching the battle. And those old guys from the ancient Wood School Holy Land were watching the battle. Seeing all the strong in one's own kingdom or secret territory fall. These robbers jumped in anger. One after another on the Vietnamese side of duty. The ancestor of the 7 Tribulations realm of Yu Kingdom closed his eyes tightly. He has become accustomed to being scolded. Li Sheng converted the wild beast and was scolded once. Jian Wushuang took refuge in the Palunga tribe and was scolded again. It is now the Empress Fengchen, watching her hand go to death, she doesn't care about it. Every time, they are doing things in Vietnam. Although he was scolded, his heart was dark and cool. It's best to die. Really clean. Only Fengchen was left. Even if the mission cannot be completed, the position of the saint must fall into Fengchen's hands. Not to mention, that's what the Empress thinks now. Of course, this is only the worst plan. She still wanted to defeat Gula with her own strength to complete this task. Become a saint again. It doesn't matter how many humans on the human side die. She also doesn't worry about being troubled by outside forces. She is now the Lord of the 6 Tribulations realm universe. And it was the pinnacle of the 6 Tribulations realm. Although she hasn't reached the half-step 7 Tribulations realm yet, after going out and becoming a saint, she will soon be able to reach the half-step 7 Tribulations realm. Chapter 5864. Will you still be afraid of those loose robberies? The future master seedling of the universe of the 7 Tribulations realm. Guma faction will also protect it. People who die now are worth it. You will be successful. The battle below has ended. The powerhouse of the Balungia family killed all the powerhouses in the 5 Tribulations realm and the 4 Tribulations realm at a very small price. Now only the spectator is left, waiting for Bru's eruption. The battle in midair was extremely fierce. The 4 great sons of Longshan Mountain have fought back and forth with those of Jinwoo. Both are more than 800,000 supernatural powers. There is no way to tell the winner for a time. Also look at Bru. Bru is the core. It's the same with Keanu. In the current battle between the two, Genuelo has the upper hand. Kinyu, with 900,000 supernatural powers, played against Bru, with 890,000 supernatural powers. Both of them are magical Mahayana. No treasure is used. The pure fist and foot attack, as well as the waves of energy gathered by the divine power, made the world look pale. After the two collided again, they each stepped back, opened a distance, and looked for the next opportunity to shoot. Ha! After Jinwoo took a breath, he said loudly, "It's so happy. It's been a long time since I met such a strong player. I really don't want to solve you." Bruce sneered, and after glancing at the people below, his voice was cold and said, "I really want to see how powerful your divine power is, and whether it is as powerful as I imagined." Ha! Jinyu laughed. Randomly clenched fists with both hands, a roar of supernatural power directly broke 900,000. Then I tell you, my supernatural power is 930,000. Keanu began to explode, the tendons on his forehead violently, and his divine power began to soar. In the later stage, every rise of divine power is extremely difficult. Often a difference of 10,000 to 20,000 can determine the victory. Keanu continued to explode, and it really reached a power of 930,000. The female emperor took a deep breath. She had expected Jinyu's strength, but she did not expect it to reach 930,000. Even Gula was very excited and praised loudly, "Keanu, your progress is fast. The king is optimistic. When I kill him, I will clean up the rest." After Jinyu completely exploded in strength, he became even more relaxed. In midair, doing a series of strange movements. The Gula below, with a blushing face, whispered, "Come again." After seeing the other party's eruption, Brus's expression moved, and Kinho's supernatural power was somewhat beyond his expectation. But 930,000 does not mean that it cannot be defeated. What? Bru clenched his fist and raised his head and yelled, and his divine power began to soar. What? The white skin behind him was shattered. The divine power directly reached 900,000. Jinyu was very calm and commented, 900,000, which is really good. If you are not a Balunga, you can come to my Jinowite team. He had just finished speaking, only to discover that Brus's divine power had reached 900 and 100,000. You still have to hide, but 900 and 100,000 should be the limit. Jinyu pretended to relax and commented casually, but the corners of his mouth rose, and he burst out again, and his divine power went so far as to directly increase by 20,000. It reached 930,000. This is already on par with Keanu. Kinho was also a little panicked. I didn't expect the opponent to be so strong. The key to Beulah breath is still rising. 94,000. Kinho's expression changed drastically. $95,000. The people watching the battle from below also exclaimed together. The face of the Empress changed. Wu Li at the top of Gu was even more fascinated. He saw Brus's eruption of 950,000 supernatural powers, and after stabilizing his head, he happily pulled Dan Bao to celebrate. As long as the strong of the Balunga clan can stabilize, the two of them will be able to escape. Seeing Brus's divine power explode, he was naturally happy. How about it? Are you satisfied with the 95,000 power? Bru moved his neck, and the corners of his mouth rose randomly, and a flash came directly behind Jinyu. The arm was raised slightly, and then an elbow struck Keanu on the neck. Kinho's mind sank, and he just came up with clarity, wanted to counterattack, but found that Bru's figure was no longer visible. I'm here. Bru didn't know when he was in front of Keanu again, and he pushed Bru out tens of thousands of feet on top of his head. Bru did not rush to solve Keanu. After repelling Keanu, he took advantage of the trend to the battle group of the four great sons. After flashing in, it was a massacre. The Gula below was also anxious and shouted angrily, "Stop him!" Kinho rushed back desperately. But Bulu has already solved a 6 Tribulations realm powerhouse. 95,000, fighting against the 6 Tribulations realm with more than 800,000 supernatural powers, that would be overwhelming. Now the 4 great sons are playing against the 6 Tribulations of the 4 Kinuite teams. Completely flat. But Bru has a big advantage against Kinu. Now is the time to solve the battle. Brutal's eyes leaked killing intent. Holding his left arm with his right hand, he began to distance himself with supernatural power. A powerful and unshakable force has been condensed at his fingertips. The Gula who issued the message quickly reminded, "Hurry up and get away." It's a pity it's too late. Bruce pointed his finger at Keanu and shouted, "The devil is used to killing waves." A branch line burst out instantly. Jaina's figure was startled, wanted to hide but couldn't get out. Because the devil is used to killing waves, he can be locked on and there is no escape. He can only cover his chest with his arms. The condensed divine power of this light wave exceeded 950,000. It reached 980,000. It's Bruss' limit. It is also his trick. Enough to kill Keanu in seconds. Just when everyone felt that Kinho was going to die. Keanu covered his front with his arms, but he leaked an unnoticeable smile. Jian Wushuang saw this detail. No good, fraud. Jian Wushuang had just finished speaking, and sure enough, something happened. After the light wave passed through Jinyu's chest, Jinyu disappeared. Elder Bulu was also taken aback. This is his strongest skill. It is impossible to be evaded. Just when he was surprised, the light wave reversed its direction and charged towards Bru. How could it be? Bru exclaimed. This attack comes with tracking the enemy. Now rush towards him, then Keanu is behind him. When he wanted to turn around, he was locked from behind by Keanu. Kinho's arm was like a cage, tightly bound to Bru. Ha, you are going to die under your own stunts. Kinho sneered, and I am the ultimate winner. There was Bruce in front of him, and the attack he received would indeed be much smaller. Bru also panicked. He knows his skills best. If you stay together like this, you will be seriously injured if you don't die. If he is seriously injured, only the 4 great saints are left, and they can't stop Gula at all. But Kinho locked him, unable to break free. What? At the last moment, Bru yelled angrily, and his divine power skyrocketed again. The golden light on her body flickered. He broke free of Keanu directly. Chapter 5865. Gula below narrowed his eyes slightly, and the moment Bulu exploded, his divine power approached 1,000,000. This had to arouse his attention. Gula's eyes condensed, and he directly fixed Bruce in the air, unable to move his figure. Although only for a moment. But Jinyu reacted faster and locked Bruce again. Just now, Bru's eruption fell down again in an instant. However, Keanu was still extremely shocked. The terrifying supernatural power just now has almost broken 1,000,000. Thinking of this, I was afraid for a while. But this time, Bru will be completely finished. Light wave rushed and directly pierced Bru's chest, the divine body shattered directly, and the origin was collapsing. There is only one breath left. Kinu, who had locked Bru, was no better there. This time, a hole was punched out of his chest again, which was not an afterimage. It's a real deal. Even if the light wave weakened after passing through Bru, Jinus' divine power was not as strong as Bru. So his condition is similar to Bru's. Both are seriously injured. But he still has something to do. The backhand took a fruit from the mustard and swallowed it. Divine power is also constantly rising. And Bruce has fallen. Jones and Zack on the ground hurriedly stepped forward to help, but Gula stared intently, and the two of them were seriously injured and retreated. The female emperor's eyes also flashed. She originally hoped that Bru would defeat Kinho and then lead Gula to take action. Gula is now shooting, but not completely. It seems that a little help from her is needed. Empress Feng Chen, her figure flashed, and she was in midair. Jinyu saw Feng Chen arriving behind him. He was taken aback, and quickly wanted to back off. But the body trembled unconsciously, unable to move. Empress Feng Chen, with a touch of red lips, her cold eyes, she just blinked, and when she opened it again, there was a corpse left in front of her eyes. Jinyu, who had a divine power of 920,000, was instantly killed. Although he was injured, he could recover more than 800,000 supernatural powers. It just died. Jian Wushuang on the top of the mountain stared at the crystal ball, and his eyes trembled. He didn't even see the shot of the Empress just now. Keanu was destroyed. You follow him in the funeral too. The female emperor ran her fingers across her waist, and with a single tap, the 4-6 Tribulations realm fixed herself. Although the 4 great sons of the Balunga tribe were surprised that the Empress would take action against Jinyu, they did not hesitate to take action immediately. Completely beheaded all 4 of Keanu's men. Then they fell to the ground one after another, standing in front of Bru. Gula frowned, glanced at the stinky fish and shrimps behind him, and then looked up to the sky. This game shouldn't have ended so early. At this moment, Gula got up for the first time and walked off the throne. The Gula, who is short and thin, is the strongest person on the court. The breath shook suddenly, and the entire Dragon God Mountain was trembling. The sword watching the battle on the top of the mountain was pale and white, and he hurriedly said to Dan Bao, "Let Bu come back. The human female emperor will definitely not be able to stop Gula. Let Bu come back to restore her supernatural power and go to fight again." Dan Bao was stunned for a moment, but he felt that Jian Wushuang's words were reasonable, so he transmitted his voice to Bulu and the others. The powerhouses of the Palunga clan at the foot of the mountain also knew that the horror of Gula was beyond their reach. Taking advantage of Bru regaining some consciousness, he quickly activated the Long Shinshan formation and teleported Bru back. A circular black hole appeared in the air, and Bulu jumped in along the black hole. With this blood on the corner of his mouth, Bru fell directly to the ground. Dan Bao hurriedly stepped forward to help Bru recover. But Bru was injured too badly, and he didn't want to recover so quickly. Jian Wushuang could only be anxious. Looked at the crystal ball again. The remaining powerhouses of the Balunga clan should also come back. To stay is to wait for death. Gula personally end. The Empress is also preparing to fight. The two strongest confront each other. The female emperor stood in the air, with one hand on her hips, staring at Gula, but in private she was a powerful person who transmitted her voice to the human race. After she fought with Gula, the other strong men of the human race took the opportunity to kill all of Gula's remaining men. No one can stay. By the way, I also snatched the Dragon Ball. Can't let those people stand there to eat dry food. Gula moved his wrists, spread his hands and said calmly, "Can you start?" "Anytime." The female emperor retreated suddenly, flicking her sleeves, and flew out of the world. The red cuffs surround the Gula. Trapped into a ball. Do it. Dozens of Five Tribulations realm powerhouses on the human side rushed directly to the men of Gula like a torrent. There are only a dozen Five Tribulations realm left that can block the human race army. Li Sheng panicked and wanted to shout loudly, saying that they were all his own. But when the words came to my lips, I found that I looked like a wild beast. No one believed it. If you believe it, no one will keep it. Simply exploded divine power, ready to escape. The remaining subordinates of Gula can resist for a while after Sabo transforms. The rest were unable to resist. Was besieged and fell in an instant. Although Gula was wrapped, he also felt the changes below. With a fierce force of both hands, he broke free directly, seeing countless people below robbing his Dragon Ball, and suddenly furious. Want to take action to stop those masters of the human universe. The female emperor would let him go, and the two sleeves struck again. This time it was the treasure of the female emperor's natal universe. The perfect treasure of the universe in the Six Tribulations realm. Even Gula's millions of supernatural powers can't even break open quickly. The two sides were pulling with divine power. The divine power of the Empress soon reached 990,000. It is still not so easy to break 1,000,000. Gula's supernatural power has been maintained at around 1,000,000. Suddenly they were in a stalemate together. The battle below is almost over. In order to save his life, Li Sheng held a Dragon Ball and fled. Don't tremble with those people. He wanted to run to the Empress side, and the voice transmission told the Empress his identity. And Gula thought that Li Sheng was protecting Dragon Ball, which was extremely appreciated. His own divine power exploded again, directly soared from 1,000,000 to 1.08 directly shook the female emperor away, and caught Li Sheng with a quick catch. When I clean up these people, I will come to you to settle the account. Gula's eyes revealed the killing intent. The Empress who was shaken away was extremely shocked by Gula's divine power. It was able to explode to 1.08. If this is Gula's strongest power, she may still have hope. The Lord of the human universe below, who was still robbing the Dragon Ball, was stunned when he discovered that Gula rushed forward. They scolded the Empress for waste one after another. Can't stop Gula, they still have to let them grab the Dragon Ball. Feng Chen didn't care about those people anymore, he didn't even look at it, but turned to look at the Six Tribulation realm powerhouses of the Balunga clan. Gula led Li Sheng to the Lord of the Human Universe, her expression gloomy. Chapter 5866. Just you trivialities, I dare to my treasure. Gula roared and shook everyone back. But this was not over yet. His figure flashed, and he went to a Five Tribulations realm powerhouse holding a Dragon Ball, squeezed the opponent's head with one claw, and threw the Dragon Ball to Li Sheng. Li Sheng followed steadily. Once again, the Lord of the Five Tribulations realm universe has fallen. The rest of the people are already frightened. There is no power to resist at all. If they all go together, they may all be killed by Gula. This holy meeting, I have no hope. I should give up. This thought sounded in everyone's mind. The Four Tribulations realm powerhouse has already begun to retreat and run for his life. The angry Gula did not intend to give up any of them. Directly into the air, his fingers shot out beams of light in succession, and each beam of light could instantly kill the Five Tribulations realm powerhouse. One breathing time is tens of thousands of beams of light. Don't kill all those present. Four dragon gathered around Li Sheng, but his eyes were staring at the corpses all over the floor. Gula lightly clenched his fist and coughed dryly, "Dirty creature." Looking at these corpses made him feel very uncomfortable, and with a wave of his hand, a powerful storm erupted, instantly raising all the tens of thousands of miles to the ground. The corpse also disappeared cleanly. A shocking scene. Still staged. It's a pity that there are not many strong humans present. The female emperor doesn't care about this, and is now lobbying the powerful Balunga tribe to cooperate. Although Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were not present, they were frightened stupidly. Only Li Sheng has experienced and witnessed it personally. Although he doesn't care about the life and death of these people very much. But seeing so many powerful men being slaughtered by the Gula, I was frightened to see. At the same time, I was fortunate. Fortunately, he became a desolate beast. Next time I saw Jian Wushuang, he would be polite to kowtow to the opponent. I must thank you very much. Speaking of it, he has been in the human race for such a long time, and he hasn't turned into a desolate beast to receive as many goods in a month. Perhaps it is because in the face of this huge opportunity, everyone has this opportunity. This opportunity allowed him to reach the pinnacle of the Five Tribulations realm. Although he became a beast, he never regretted it. Master Gula. Li Sheng bowed. Completely reduced to a running dog of the human race. Gula and Li Sheng passed by and walked in the direction of the female emperor and the Balunga clan powerhouse. When passing by Li Sheng, she said, "I'm optimistic about Dragon Ball. When I kill these people, I will guarantee you to enter the Six Tribulations." As soon as he said this, Li Sheng's eyes changed a few colors. "Protect you from entering the Six Tribulations realm." This sentence kept backtracking in Li Sheng's ears. Six Tribulation realm. He is also the Lord of the Universe. That is the Lord of the Universe in the Six Tribulations realm. In Gumu continent, they are all influential figures. He can even open up a secret realm, allowing the family to move to the secret realm and become the Emperor of Fong Tuesday. The Lord of the Six Tribulations realm universe. No matter where you go, you will be taken seriously. You can even break through some dangerous secret realms and slowly stabilize your strength. Work towards the Seven Tribulations realm. This temptation is too big for Li Sheng. He had to consider whether this was the greatest opportunity in his life. Once missed, you may regret it for life. Six Tribulations realm. Li Sheng murmured. He never dared to go to the realm of delusion. Before entering the infinite world, the most maddening thing he said in the Li family was that he could be ranked in the top 3 among the 4 calamities of the Yu kingdom. However, there were not many masters of the Four Tribulations realm universe in the Yu kingdom. Being in the top 3 counts as a fart. Just in the blink of an eye, he witnessed the fall of dozens of masters of the Five Tribulations realm, and hundreds of thousands of the fall of the Four Tribulations realm. Here, the Four Tribulations are weeds, and the Five Tribulations are also ants. Even the Six Tribulations realm could not interfere with the battle. What happened today really surpassed his previous knowledge and cognition. This had to make a slight change in his mood. The female emperor frowned when she saw the Gula who was constantly approaching. She still couldn't lobby the wave wheel strengthener. Can only fight separately. A bunch of idiots. In order to maintain her divine power, the Empress didn't want to face Gula. Especially when you are alone. The body shape flashed, and he wanted to rush to Longshan Mountain. But Gula was one step ahead and blocked the Empress' function. Where do you want to go in such a hurry? The speed was so fast that it surpassed everyone's thought power again. I can't see clearly at all. Top of the mountain. Jian Wushuang asked anxiously, isn't it okay? Now the Empress is fighting Gula alone. She is definitely not an opponent. If the Empress is gone, there is little hope for the rest of the people. When he and Wu Li want to escape, they may not have much chance. Bru and the Empress must be made to join forces with each other. Gula. Only then can there be hope. If it doesn't work, he can also perform super-eternal changes and sneak attack Gula halfway. And he has a back player, Li Xing. It's just that he doesn't know that Li Xing is already stunned. Falling into the delusion of Six Tribulations realm. Cole. Dan Bao sat directly on the ground, while Bru's breath reached the peak. But looking at Dan Bao's complexion, he should have reached his limit. There is still no way to compare with his vitality. However, he was able to restore a super powerhouse whose divine power reached 950,000 in the Six Tribulations realm, which was also quite remarkable. If this is sent out, no matter which power it is in, it will be a guest of honor. No wonder the Great Elder and the elders of the Holy Land both value Dan Bao extremely, and once said that if the Holy Land is destroyed, let him run away with Dan Bao. It seems that Dan Bao also has a lot of secrets. Quickly, the people outside can't hold it anymore. Jian Wushuang glanced at the crystal ball, then turned his head and said to Bulu, together with the human race Empress, there is still the possibility of winning. In fact, he knows best whether he wins or not. A Gula who hasn't transformed has won. 0.8 million supernatural powers. Now that Bru and the Empress are teaming up, there is indeed a little chance of winning. But definitely can't win the Gula after the transformation. But if you don't join hands, you can only wait to die. Bulu also looked at the crystal ball, but he had no plans to cooperate with the Empress. Let's find a chance and prepare to escape. His eyes turned, and he glanced at the room where the Great Elder was. Surged again. After speaking, he disappeared in place. Appeared again, has come to the foot of the mountain. The battle between the Empress and the Gula continued. It's just that the Gula is extremely relaxed. After all, there are still some gaps between the two sides. After Bru appeared, he rushed towards Gula without talking nonsense. Although the Empress also killed the Palunga tribe, the biggest opponent now is Gula. After solving the Gula, it is not too late to clean up the Empress. Haha, I just came here. If I don't come out again, I'm going to fall asleep. Gula yawned, stood in the air with one hand on his hips, glanced at the two of them, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and his figure suddenly rushed out. End of this chapter. Chapter 5867. That speed makes people unable to react at all. The divine power of the Empress is a little stronger than Bru, and she can resist with difficulty. But Bru returned to the peak, and only had 95,000 divine powers. The gap with Gula's 1.08 million is too big. Come up and be ravaged. Gula shot Bu out of the sky with just one punch, and then rushed to the Empress again. After a miss, there was no shortage. His figure suddenly turned, and the palm shot out with his backhand. Boom! The Empress also fell from the sky. Too weak. Gula shook his head and fell from the sky. Bru got up and rushed again. The female emperor also struck from another direction. The two flanked them, but they flew into the air. Gula leaped up, and two powerful waves of aura broke out with open arms, directly blasting Bulu and the Empress back into the mountains. The other powerhouses of the Balunga clan wanted to step forward to help, but they were powerless. The four great sons only have more than 800,000 divine powers. Rushing over is also to die. Elder Jones stood up at this moment with a gloomy expression and said to the four great sons, "It's time to use the last whole card." The four great sons were all taken aback, and when they looked at Gula, they fell silent again. The top of the mountain. Jian Wushuang saw the conversation of Elder Jones and others through the crystal ball, but couldn't hear the voice, so he tried to ask, Dan Bao, what are they doing, discussing countermeasures? I think they are ready to run away. How else are they fighting? The second fight is ravaged. It's better to run early and give the Dragon Ball to Gula. Wu Li shook his head and sighed all the time. Dan Bao didn't pay attention to Wu Li, but looked at Jian Wushuang and explained, Elder Jones, maybe I have to use the strongest secret technique of the Balunga clan. The strongest secret? Jian Wushuang and Wu Li said in unison, what is the strongest secret method? Fusion technique. Dan Bao stood up, turned his head and glanced at the house of the Great Elder, and then said, Fused Super Wave Wheel plus Warrior Fusion Technique. Super Fighter. Dan Bao's explanation shocked Jian Wushuang's heart. The fusion technique of the Balunga tribe is very special, because the blood of the entire Balunga clan originates from the Great Elder. They can actually be integrated. For example, the intelligent Balungia people, after fusion with the combat-type Balungia people, will give birth to super warriors with both wisdom and combat. The reason why Bru is so strong is because he has been fused. Fusion technique. Jian Wushuang whispered. This reminded him of the Shanjun of Qishan Temple. Mountain King, Ancient King, Demon King. This was transformed by Qishan's Avenue. Later, the Mountain King divided into the Heart Demon, the 10,000 Demon, the Wind Demon, and the Blood Demon. It can be divided and it can be merged again. This is why extinction takes them away. Once merged again, it will be able to restore the peak. The Demon Lord alone is at the level of the Six Tribulations realm. The three elements of demons, ancients, and mountains are integrated into one. Even without Qishan's original peak combat power, I am afraid he would have the top combat power of the Seven Tribulations realm. The Qishan at the beginning, but half a step in the Eight Tribulations realm. Even rivals the Eight Tribulations realm. Swallowing one, it is Qishan's pinnacle avenue. Just like Jian Wushuang's kendo. Can that be normal? I hope there will be a miracle. Jian Wushuang once again focused on watching the fight under the mountain. The Empress and Bulu have already suffered a lot of injuries. If he drags on like this, he will only die. On the side of the four great saints, dozens of Five Tribulation realm and hundreds of Four Tribulation realm powerhouses surrounded the center. Elder Jones closed his eyes slightly and said calmly, Let's get started. Hundreds of breaths began to condense. A soaring breath suddenly erupted. The Gula in the distance was stunned for a moment, turned to look at the strong Balungia clan, and sneered. Any surprise? They were all ready to kill. Finding that the Balunga tribe still had a back player, he was no longer anxious and dispatched a joint attack by Bru and the Empress. Then rushed to the four great sons. It takes time to merge and see Gula rushing. They are also deserted. Once interrupted, all previous efforts will be lost. The top of the mountain. Jian Wushuang suddenly got up and hurriedly shouted at the big elder in the house, Hurry up and send me out. Although the great elder is in the house, he can see the situation below through the crystal ball. He hesitated when he heard Jian Wushuang want to take the initiative. But now there is no other way but to do it. Jian Wushuang had just stood up before he appeared at the bottom of the mountain. The aura gathered on his body was long enough for him to perform super eternal changes. Super eternal change. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, his figure suddenly exploded, and his divine power soared to 800,000. Seeing Jian Wushuang suddenly appeared, Gula was also taken aback. Looking up at the top of the mountain, I understood. There are still people who are not afraid of death. Gula sneered. He could see that Jian Wushuang had only 800,000 supernatural powers, which was nothing to worry about. But the enchantment above the top of the mountain is a bit obtrusive. It can also be teleported. In order to prevent someone from escaping with the Dragon Ball, Gula's hands condensed a dark red beam of light and shot it towards the enchantment on the top of the mountain. Boom! The supernatural power of this blow is definitely more than 100. Jian Wushuang was frightened. Seeing Gula attacking the enchantment, he didn't rush to move. He wanted to delay time for the 4 great sons of the Palunga tribe behind him. At the same time, it is also waiting for Bru and the Empress to come. When the time comes, drag Gula together. Standing far away, Li Sheng saw Jian Wushuang appear, and he also exploded with 800,000 supernatural powers, which was also shocked. He didn't know that Gula could transform, and now he saw the Balunga clan explode again. Jian Wushuang also rushed out. For a time, I felt a little anxious. Wu Li at the top of the mountain was shocked to discover that after Jian Wushuang had transformed, he had 800,000 supernatural powers. Originally thought that this time, he could surpass Jian Wushuang. Unexpectedly, he was still crushed. Jian Wushuang. When the rushing empress saw Jian Wushuang, the corners of her eyes trembled. Jian Wushuang also looked at the opponent, his eyes were watery, and there was also some sadness. Blame the empress for abandoning them. Leave without saying a word. Leave him with Jin Chen. The powerhouses of the Yu Kingdom have all fallen. This is more like a miniature, because all the masters of the universe who followed the empress have fallen. The human race that is still alive. There are only 3.5 left. Yu reading www.com. That half is Li Xing, who turned into a wild beast. When I came, everyone was fine. The result is all gone. Those who are alive are lucky one by one. The moment I saw the empress, the words were on my lips, but I couldn't speak. This kind of taste is uncomfortable. Bru also turned over and rushed over at this time. The 3 of them surrounded Gula with an encirclement. You flies. The Gula who was stopped was a little annoyed, but at a glance he shook the 3 of them back and blasted towards the barrier again. This time Bru stepped forward and started to burn his divine power. End of this chapter. Chapter 5868. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed, and the sound transmission said, Elder Bu, how long does your previous move take? Bru, who burns the divine body, has reached 1,000,000 in divine power. If you perform the previous trick again, you might be caught off guard. It also takes some time for Gula to transform. If you can force Gula to be killed in the opponent's transform, then you can make a lot of money. 3 breaths. Bulu forced Gula's punch with both hands, and looked at Jian Wushuang as he retreated. He also understood Jian Wushuang's thoughts. Want to end directly to Gula. Add fuel tactics. To deal with Gula is to find death. Even if the 4 great saints could produce a flower, it would not be of much use. 4-6 tribulations realm, no matter how strong they are. That means there are 4 more blues. Maybe it can block the current Gula, but absolutely can't stop the Gula after the transformation. Jian Wushuang directly drew out the 10,000 tribulations sword and said indifferently, Leave these 3 breaths to me. Turning his head and glanced at the Empress again, the other party's divine power had already begun to be unstable. Whether it is reliable or not is a question. Therefore, he must resist these 3 breaths on his own. Gula, now your opponent is me. Jian Wushuang slashed horizontally with his sword, the wings behind him shook, and his speed was already equal to that of Gula. This shocked Gula. It was impossible to avoid that sword, and suddenly it was a little messy. He didn't expect Jian Wushuang to be so fast. Jian Wushuang had only 800,000 supernatural powers, and Gula naturally didn't care about it. But now the speed suddenly caught up with him, which made Gula worried that Jian Wushuang's divine power would suddenly skyrocket. But after feeling the power of that sword, he breathed a sigh of relief. I thought your speed was as powerful as your divine power. Gula held the sword of 10,000 tribulations in one hand, and his divine power shook Jian Wushuang away. Jian Wushuang, who was shaken away, was unstable and slowed down. At this time, Gula rushed forward, with both hands behind. A head hammer with a sharp threaded angle directly pierced Jian Wushuang's chest. The blood remained along the breastplate, and Jian Wushuang's own divine body broke directly. The difference is still too far. Although his supernatural power reached 800,000 after his super-eternal transformation, and his origin was doubled, he was still an emperor after all. The life force is running wildly, and if he wants to recover his injury, it consumes more than it grows. Gyula's head slammed to the ground fiercely, directly slamming Jian Wushuang from the sky into the ground. Boom! Jian Wushuang, who fell to the ground, directly smashed a huge pit. The injury on his chest was extremely serious, and it had penetrated the origin universe. No matter how quickly the vitality recovers, it cannot be restored instantly. This is the gap. If it is the same level or just a stronger player than him, it will not be so embarrassed. But for the super strong with millions of superpowers, Gula, he has no way at all. 2 breaths. Jian Wushuang laughed at himself, his body unable to move. This time he really didn't move. He turned his head to look in the direction of the Empress, and said in the bottom of his heart, "Block him and give Brew a breath of time. We still have a chance to win." The female emperor's body trembled, and the divine body had begun to crack, and the time for 2 breaths was to gather energy. Now some breath has just gathered, and it's starting to be unstable again. And Jian Wushuang is about to fall. Little guy. The Empress was also a little moved. This time the position of the saint is already hers. In fact, there is no need to lie down in muddy water, even if the mission is not completed, and the position of the saint is unsuccessful. She will earn enough to see the holy meeting this time. From half a step to the 6 tribulations realm, to the peak of the 6 tribulations realm. The many prices paid are all worthwhile for her. Why do you continue to fight like this? And Jian Wushuang was a dying person, there was no need to save him. It's better to take this opportunity to escape. Seeing Li Xing hesitating in the distance, she jumped anxiously. If Jian Wushuang was gone, he wouldn't be transformed into a human race. Gula killed all the strong people in this place, and he could not return to the 16 kingdoms. At that time, in this infinite world, even if it becomes the 6 tribulations realm, what's the point? He couldn't watch Jian Wushuang die. The same goes for Wu Li at the top of the mountain. Now Jian Wushuang is dying, and his plan to enter Wanlu has also been ruined. I told you not to go. Don't go. Wu Li shook his head, reached out and drew out the 3-foot wooden sword, turned his head and glanced at the house of the elder. His breath suddenly changed. Just as Wu Li was about to take a shot, the Empress was moved. She didn't go towards Gula, but rushed towards Li Sheng. "My lord, help me!" Li Sheng shouted and threw the Dragon Ball directly. This is his plan with the Empress. Use Dragon Ball to lead Gula away. Hearing the shouting, Gula turned his head to look at the position of the Empress. Had to stop. Damn, you flies completely angered me. Gula clenched his fist, he didn't want to play anymore. The female emperor just rushed to Li Sheng's side, but was suffocated by the breath of Gula. The colors of the sky are beginning to distort. Gula's divine power also began to beat continuously. Jian Wushuang at the bottom of the pit took the opportunity to turn over and leaped into the distance, and loudly reminded, "Be careful of his transformation." "Boy, you actually know the identity of this king." Gula looked extremely embarrassed. This was a sign of transformation. What he didn't expect was a human kid who knew he could transform. As far as he knows, there are no frozen demons in the outside world. Jian Wushuang, who fled to the distance, took a breath. A trace of thought power has been on Bulu, and the opponent's stunts have been condensed. Just wait for an opportunity now. Frozen demon race. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to say, "Gula, I killed a frozen demon race. He looks a lot like you." This sentence is slightly provocative. But Gula didn't care about it. The strong of the frozen demon race, although rare. But it is not as united as the Balunga. It has nothing to do with him. What he cares about is that someone knows his whole cards. This makes him very upset. Originally, I thought that in front of these people, calm to show off. As a result, don't puncture it now. Since you know, let you be the first person to kill after I transform. Gula's figure shook, and his divine power skyrocketed again. Jian Wushuang turned his head and said to Bulu, "It's now." A beam of light surrounded by black aura rose to the sky, and Bulu spelled out the power of his whole body, exhausted the last trace of his strength and shouted angrily, "Magic light kills waves." Boom. This air column is like a Changhong circling the sun. He rushed to Gula in an instant. Gula, who was still about to transform, turned his head to look, and he was already in front of his eyes. The bloodshot eyes burst, and he exclaimed, "What?" End of this chapter. Chapter 5869. He just didn't pay attention to Brew at all. His mind was all on Jian Wushuang, and he wanted to know how Jian Wushuang knew he would transform. Jian Wushuang deliberately attracted his attention at that time. Now it seems successful. This time, Mo used to kill the waves, has exceeded 1,000,000 supernatural powers. That's a full 1,050,000. Even if Gula can't be killed, Gula can be seriously injured. He was so badly injured that he couldn't transform again. They can win. The beam of light covered Gula's body and pulsed directly towards the distant mountain. The Gula's body in the light wave was directly shattered, and the divine body was disappearing little by little. Passed through the Gula completely, without a trace of excess. The light waves passing through the Gula fell into the distant mountains, bursting out a strong breath, and then bursting open. Rumble! A powerful air current blows along, and Jian Wushuang stretches out his hand to block him. In the rear, he felt 4 strong breaths again. They are the 4 great suns. Good things, they are all gathered together. Jian Wushuang smiled, turned his head and said to the 4 great saints, "Now, give Gula another blow." The damage just now was not enough to make Gula fall. Must take the opportunity to make up the knife, and can't hesitate. The 4 great sons have absorbed hundreds of Balunga clan powerhouses, and now each of them has a divine power of about 1,000,000, which is comparable to the Empress and Bulu. The 4 of them soared into the air, working together and hitting countless waves of light, each hitting 1,000,000 or so, although it was not as good as the one that Bruce had just made. But the number is staggering. In just one breath, he played tens of thousands of times. The entire Dragon God continent was destroyed in half. The origin of the infinite world is almost consumed. Jian Wushuang just remembered now. On Gumu continent, it is simply not possible to withstand the battle of the 7 tribulations realm. The original Soul Heaven Emperor, a big move, directly destroyed the Eternal Kingdom. This is an example. The 4 great suns, a wave of violent bombing, almost destroyed the entire infinite world, which is normal. Anyway, it's not his own home. Jian Wushuang doesn't care, but hopes that the stronger the better. The 4 great suns almost worked out their full strength, not daring to be careless at all. A stick of incense was blown for a long time. Jian Wushuang's thought power has been paying attention, and at the same time, he has also moved to Bru's side. Eat him quickly and send me back to the top of the mountain. Bulu swallowed the fruit of the divine power and recovered some of the divine power, and a handprint directly sent Jian Wushuang back to the top of the mountain. Jian Wushuang dared to breathe a sigh of relief after returning to the top of the mountain. "Benefactor, I'll restore you." Dan Bao walked over, actively trying to restore Jian Wushuang some divine power. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, "I have recovered." So fast. Wu Li leaned in at this moment, but the aura on his body had returned to normal. "Slow down, I'll die below." Jian Wushuang shook his head and said, "Wait for the result. If Gula is still alive, we will leave." After speaking, he began to gather qi again. He has become normal now. To escape, you can only perform super-eternal changes, and then use the 3 shocks to shuttle out of the universe. It's all like this. Can he live? Wu Li pointed to the bottomless pits in the crystal ball. Jian Wushuang's face was pale, and he said honestly, "I can still feel the breath of Gula. He is not that easy to die. It depends on whether he can transform." As soon as he finished saying this, he saw a small black spot floating up from the pit. A closer look reveals that it is Gula. Everyone at the foot of the mountain was dumbfounded. Gula slowly rose from the pit to the sky, but his figure was in tatters. The limbs are gone, and there are many holes in the chest. There are still a few holes in the face. The divine power dropped for the first time, from 1.08 million to 800,000. This is already a serious injury to Gula. Heavier, he is almost out of combat power. "You ants actually hurt me. Damn it." Gula's figure shook, and the rotten wound began to recover, gradually turning into a perfect shape. Snapped. Falling to the ground, walked towards Bru step by step. The four great sons stepped forward to block Gula. Since this is the case, let you see how powerful I am after I transform. Gula sneered, clenching his fists with both hands, and his divine powers suddenly exploded. A golden light burst suddenly. The violent divine power began to rise. Jian Wushuang at the top of the mountain already knew that this time he was really finished. Let's go! Jian Wushuang also condensed his breath to consummation at this time. You can perform super eternal changes at any time. Before the Gula has completely transformed, his speed is still comparable to that of the opponent, so hurry up and run with someone. Wu Li wanted to run early, so he was naturally happy. That's what I'm waiting for, but when you leave, take the little brother Danbao, he can restore our divine power, which is also a great help. Actually, Wu Li doesn't need to say, he will always bring Danbao. But this sentence came out of Wu Li's mouth. This makes him a little strange. The previous Wu Li didn't care about the death of others at all. Now he has to take the initiative to bring Danbao. It must have found something. He didn't rush to pierce, but he didn't immediately agree. Instead, he looked at Danbao and said, Danbao, are you willing to follow us? I. Danbao lowered his head, hesitating while holding the corner of his clothes with both hands. Hesitation is also normal. After all, this is a holy land. And this time, the holy land was destroyed, and all the people of the tribe fell. This is inevitable. He is just a kid, and how much he can understand. Jian Wushuang also knew his worries, so he said, if you are not sure to pay attention, it is better to ask the elder. Good. Danbao nodded and then ran into the house. Jian Wushuang looked at the crystal ball again. Down the mountain. Gula burst into rebirth in the bursting golden light. The golden light faded, and a familiar figure appeared. It was the same as the ancient temple Jian Wushuang saw. After Gula's transformation, his figure was several times higher than before, and his divine power also skyrocketed a lot. 100. Jian Wushuang couldn't see through. Frowning, thinking about how to escape later. He knew that there was still a teleportation formation on the mountain, but the transmission distance is not far. He still wants to use the three-shock universe. Wu Li bluntly said, 3 million. The tree in the body, you reading www.ukanshu.com told Wu Li about the power of Gula. 3 million supernatural powers. After Jian Wushuang heard this, he was not surprised. This is also normal. Before transforming, there were 1.08 million. After transforming, he has 1.3 million, which is actually not as powerful as he imagined. This divine power can be regarded as a high-level combat power in the Seven Tribulations realm. He had seen Dylan after the outbreak. Divine power is as high as 1.8 million. The upper limit of the Seven Tribulations realm is too high. Millions are just the beginning. Chapter 5870. Like the Soul Heaven Emperor, it is correct to say that he is in the Seven Tribulations realm. However, his divine power is extremely terrifying, and it is possible to guarantee the bottom 3 million. It is the strongest Seven Tribulations realm in the entire Gumu continent. Regardless of the cosmic dojo, no one with iron guts is not necessarily the opponent of the Soul Heaven Emperor. In other words, he can't feel his current clone anywhere. It is true that the battles in the infinite world are too frequent. He doesn't have time to care about external affairs. Gula, the biggest threat now, can't be solved at all. Don't have any thoughts, take care of other things. Those people at the foot of the mountain are over. Jian Wushuang couldn't bear to look again. The Empress couldn't escape even if she wanted to. He didn't plan to take care of the female emperor, so he would take 2 people at most. Even if you can bring 3, you will not consider the Empress. The other party was completely stunned. Want to be strong, want to be crazy. Anything can be discarded. When the time comes, she will sell it again. Why bother? Benefactor, the great elder invites you to come once. Dan Bao walked out of the Great Elder's house and shouted at him and Wu Li. Although there is not much time now, but if the other party wants to meet, it is better to see once. Maybe there is something left. Although I look down on treasures. But chances can't be less. What if the first elder can give them some chance? Wu Li wanted everything, so he pulled him and walked into the house. When he entered the house, he felt a twilight. That is the twilight of death. It seems that the great elder is about to die. Even if Gula didn't do it, he wouldn't live for a few years. Jian Wushuang discovered that Dan Bao's aura had become stronger at this time. He also just noticed it. That breath has reached the level of the ordinary robbery realm. This is quite unexpected. It should be some kind of treasure given by this great elder that can make Dan Bao stronger. Jian Wushuang thought like this in his heart. Seeing them come in, the great elder Chang gave a bit of spirit and said, "Humanity, the Gula is as powerful as you said." "Well, what great elder? If you have something to say quickly, we are running out of time here." Wu Li was a little anxious at this time. The great elder paused and then said directly, "There are some things that I can't say directly. Please look through this jade slip. If you feel that you have hope, don't leave in a hurry." Jade slip. Jian Wushuang turned out to be a small jade slip. I don't know what the great elder meant. The opponent is the creator of the Balunga clan, so he shouldn't be afraid of death. After a thought force entered the jade slip, Jian Wushuang was stunned. Dragon Ball can still be used like this? He raised his head and looked at the great elder, somewhat in disbelief. Wu Li was also curious at this time, and quickly avoided the jade slip, and was shocked when he saw the content above. The content is very simple. Collecting 9 Dragon Balls, the elder can use the power of reversing the rules. This force has reversed the supreme rule. Let alone Wu Li, Jian Wushuang has never heard of it either. For a while, I was a little uncertain about it. Reverse the rules. Excitation potential. The simple 4 words contain too much. Wu Li bluntly said, "What level can this potential be stimulated?" His focus is always his best interest. But I don't want to think about this authenticity. Even if the potential is stimulated, can the combat power be doubled? Jian Wushuang didn't think so. If you were so good, what would you have done long ago? The elder's eyelids trembled and tremblingly said, "The potential to stimulate is the source within oneself. The stronger the potential of the source, the stronger the combat power aroused. The source of my Balungia clan is too weak, so I have been." He just used a Dragon Ball to stimulate Dan Bao's potential. This is the only thing he can do. I just hope that the last member of the tribe can be stronger and have the ability to protect themselves. At the same time, it must have its own value. This way it will not be abandoned. Dan Bao said with tears in his eyes at this time, "Elder, a Dragon Ball will reduce your lifespan a lot. If 9 dragon are together, you will fall." "Stupid boy, my limit is coming soon. Even if Gula doesn't kill me, I won't be able to last long." The elder bowed his head and looked at Dan Bao dozingly. Only then did Wu Li realize that Dan Bao's aura was much stronger than before. Although his divine power had not improved much, his origin was much stronger. Dan Bao was not a combat type, and it was useless to increase his divine power. The origin is stronger, and the speed at which it helps others to recover their divine power must be faster. "Brother Wushuang, why don't I try?" Wu Li looked at Jian Wushuang. Obviously want to see Jian Wushuang's opinion. Jian Wushuang didn't stop either, and said casually, "If you think you have potential, just try it." He is now the Emperor Consummation, and if he is excited again, he is afraid that he will die. So I don't have much opinion about it, and there are no expectations. Wu Li walked over happily. His supernatural power is 700,000 at its peak. It's half a step in the 5 Tribulations realm's combat power. It used to be a half step for Tribulations realm, but now it has risen to a level. If he stimulates his potential, can Wu Li survive another catastrophe in the same place? Jian Wushuang waited to see Wu Li's joke. The elder held a Dragon Ball in one hand and put the other hand on Wu Li's forehead. A burst of power erupted. With the dragon shao that followed, a golden light burst out of Wu Li's body. The powerful rule power fell from the sky, and Jian Wushuang was taken aback. Reverse the rules. He murmured, not daring to talk. If you don't really go through the catastrophe on the spot. The great calamity in the void condenses. But because of the power in the Dragon Ball, it began to dissipate. Wu Li is overjoyed. He didn't expect that the surprise this time would come too suddenly. A catastrophe in vain. There are no signs at all. The Grand Elder released his hand, his complexion lowered again. Obviously there is not much lifespan, and it is now in a state of dying. Human, with my current life, I can use at most one Dragon Ball to help you improve. The Elder also felt that what he had just said was a bit too big. 9 dragon to increase their potential together, it would take too much life. He has never tried it. But in his opinion, the potential stimulated by a Dragon Ball is almost enough. Yu reading www.Ukanshu. Calm Wu Li half-stepped into the 5 Tribulations realm, transformed himself, and went directly to the half-step 6 Tribulations realm. This is very ridiculous. The dream of Wu Li was the 5 Tribulations realm. Before entering the Wanlu Shenmu, he had reached the half-step 6 Tribulations realm. Brother Wushuang, it's really useful, I feel I can play Gula now. After Wu Li's origin skyrocketed, the tree man in his body helped him transform all the origin's power of all things into divine power. It means that his divine power has skyrocketed, and it has reached the half-step 6 Tribulations realm. He can madly nibble on the treasures of divine power again, and enhance his divine power. Thinking of this, Wu Li even shamelessly reached out for the treasure from the Elder. End of this chapter. Chapter 5871. Eat dry. Nothing is left. Almost done cleanup, we are ready to go. He was still not tempted, he knew the details of himself best. Wu Li nodded frantically while improving his supernatural power. But in the bottom of his heart, he was still a little unwilling. There are also 4 dragon here, which have improved so much in one go. Then with 4 dragon ascending, wouldn't he be able to reach the 6 Tribulations realm? But thinking of the Great Elder left a sigh of relief. It is estimated that there is no such opportunity. Can only sigh from the bottom of my heart. Jian Wushuang was just about to perform the super-eternal change, but a voice rang in his mind. You go to Xiolia's sacred tree, isn't it just to hit the catastrophe? Now this opportunity is right in front of you, why don't you grasp it? This voice comes from his original universe. And in his original universe, there is only one person. Weiss. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. He thought the other party would not care about him, but he didn't expect to remind him at this time. In the original universe, above Tianqing Mountain, Weiss leaned on a huge recliner, while basking in the sun, while directing the created humanoid life to decorate the huge manor. It has been arranged for such a long time, but it still hasn't reached the level of his satisfaction. Hearing Jian Wushuang dared to question, he said calmly, if you don't believe it, you can leave at any time. I believe it. Jian Wushuang nodded frantically. Weiss has spoken, can he not believe it? The other party is a god. However, since the potential is stimulated, it is stimulated to the maximum. The 9 dragon must be together. There are 4 more from the outside world. If you think of a way, you can get it. If he could really reach the Tribulation realm, he would be able to cross the 5 Tribulations realm at once without the help of the Great Elder. Will you still be afraid of Gula? The supernatural power of 1.3 million is nothing more. Once he breaks through the robbery realm, he does not need to use divine power, and he can beat the Gula brutally by using the sword. Origin's supernatural power. The most powerful is the Origin. What's the matter? Wu Li asked Jian Wushuang, astonished as he watched. I was afraid that Jian Wushuang would do something more. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, don't leave. Have you figured it out clearly? The Great Elder was also overjoyed. He could see that Jian Wushuang's potential was endless. Although a Dragon Ball is less exciting, it can also double Jian Wushuang's strength. Elder, I think it through, but I want to use 9 dragon to stimulate my potential. 9. Not only was the Elder stunned for a while, Wu Li exclaimed, Brother Wushuang, Don't be kidding, there is no such condition now. Even if they went out and snatched the remaining 4 Dragon Balls, the lifespan of the Great Elder would not be enough for him to ruin. I'm sure. Seeing that they didn't believe it, Jian Wushuang was extremely confident. Isn't it the power of life? What he has is. Now he doesn't care about being exposed or not. As long as it can become a catastrophe, everything is worth it. And he created a super eternal change. Once it becomes the tribulation realm, it can quickly reach the 5 tribulations realm. Performing super eternal transformation, his combat power is at least comparable to the 7 tribulations realm. One more thing. That is, his original universe can be accommodated in God's body. In this way, it is equivalent to carrying a moving dojo. The combat power will skyrocket. Killing Gula is not a problem. Even if you go out, you can still save your life. When he arrives at the Lord of the Universe, his 3-shock universe will be unique in Guyu time and space. Except for the Master of the Universe in the 8 tribulations realm, no one can catch him. He still has this confidence. As long as he gave him time, he swallowed Dongjun's bones, and his basic divine power could quickly break through 1,000,000. At that time, it will be used again, the super eternal change with full power. He himself couldn't imagine how powerful it would be. At this time, Wu Li stood up and poured cold water. Brother, this matter is not something you can grasp if you want to, and there are some things you simply can't grasp. What about this one? Jian Wushuang was directly deep in his palm, and his thought power mobilized the life force in his body, and instantly gathered in his palm. This scene directly suppressed everyone. Wu Li's eyes glowed, and the tree in his body almost ran out. Life force! Dan Bao also exclaimed. At the same time, he thought of the treasure in his body. He is able to possess the power of all things to transform divine power and life because of a treasure. But Jian Wushuang's life force is the most pure innate life. When the turbid eyes of the Great Elder saw the life force, a faint light was also leaked. This light spot keeps zooming in. Jian Wushuang walked to the side of the Elder and directly injected the life force into the body of the Elder. The Great Elder of the Balunga tribe, after receiving that vitality, began to slowly change from an old and exhausted state. I couldn't open my eyelids before. Now he can actually stand up. This is simply a miracle of life. Brother Wushuang, you must be crazy. Wu Li reacted at this moment and pointed towards the sky. The meaning is clear. Everything they do here can be seen clearly by outsiders. This time the holy meeting is over. After a while, there will be countless robbers rushing. The 8 tribulations realm will all end. Jian Wushuang didn't care and said, the soldiers will come to cover, the water will cover the earth. Very courageous. The Great Elder stood up, looked at Jian Wushuang and said, the life you gave me is enough to stimulate your potential with 9 Dragon Balls. Now I can see that you are the Emperor. It's amazing. It's nothing. Jian Wushuang also became frantic and said casually, only in the tribulation realm can we reverse this crisis. There will be no need to flee at that time. I will also give the vitality to the Great Elder, so that the Balunga clan will live forever. I believe in your potential. The Great Elder of the Balunga clan was as confident as Jian Wushuang at this time. Wu Li stood by, not knowing how to do it well. Escape, it also depends on the strength. How would he run without Jian Wushuang? Wu Li. Jian Wu was serious on both sides, looking at the other side and said, and the senior in your body, now every word I say will swear to the supreme rule, as long as you help me wholeheartedly, you reading www. Khonshu I will pay you back for. Calm in the future. This time it was a good idea for them. As long as you help him get things done this time, everything will be good in the future. No matter what Shuren's plan is, what is his status? He will go all out. Help the other party achieve their goals. Treasures can be picked first by them. As long as I can help him this time. Wu Li's eyes flashed and he swallowed, but his heart was tangled, and at the same time he was waiting for the tree man to tell him what to do. He is not allowed to pay attention by himself. Strength is one aspect, and so is knowledge. Promise him. Chapter 5872. Wu Li's eyes moved and nodded. A smile appeared on his face for an instant, and he walked to Jian Wushuang, patted his chest and said, "I'm all my own, even without you, I will stand by you." Although this sentence is a bit false, the listener is comfortable. In fact, the reason why Wu Li listened to everything was because he was not strong enough. Even if he was half a step into the Six Tribulations realm, his divine power would only be more than 800,000. This bit of supernatural power is also given for nothing. After helping Jian Wushuang to grab the Dragon Ball, he also needs the support of the Tree Man. Thanks. Jian Wushuang was grateful this time. Wu Li originally wanted to pat him on the shoulder, but when he thought of something, he raised his hand halfway, patted the air, and said embarrassingly, "Small things. How long do I need to resist?" Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and was already sending a message to Li Sheng. Grab Dragon Ball will be fast. But to break through this matter, something needs to be done. The elder also understood the risk this time, and he paused and said, "I have already transmitted the sound to Brew. As long as you resist the time of a stick of incense, Brew will merge with the four great sons again and become the best of my clan. Strong super soldier." A stick of incense. Wu Li gritted his teeth and nodded in response. "Everything is ready. Then let's start." Jian Wushuang directly performed the super eternal change, put a hand on Wu Li's shoulder, and then said to the elder, "Trouble the elder to send me out." "I'll go too." Dan Bao also stood up at this time. Jian Wushuang originally wanted to stop, but thought that Dan Bao could quickly restore their supernatural power. Also a helper. He couldn't help other people to restore his divine power by then, although the life force had been exposed, but Gula was waiting for him. Snatching the Dragon Ball will surely make Gula take revenge wildly. It must be fast. There is too little time left for him now. The strong outsiders must have noticed him. In fact, it's almost the same as Wu Li said. Now the whole ancient Wood Holy Land is in chaos. Dozens of scattered robbers at the Seven Tribulation realm level are already negotiating with the Gu Mu sect. To say that it is a negotiation is actually to force the palace. Let Gu Mu faction teleport them to the infinite world. The matter has reached the whole point. The Shenmue king came personally, it was useless. But these people, if they know that the current Shenmue king can still exert peak combat power, I am afraid they would not dare to make such a fuss. Everyone, no matter what, the holy meeting is not over, no one can enter. This is the rule set by the Shenmue king, and no one can break it. Humph. A Seven Tribulation realm powerhouse in the secret realm stood up and said loudly, "If you say you don't let it in, you won't let it in? Who knows how many people you have sent in?" The rest of the Seven Tribulation realm powerhouses also quarreled with each other. The head teacher of the Ancient Wood School was also unlucky. Now that the bigger one can't come out, let him bear the small one outside. Although he is a master, he is only managing trivial matters. The real big things are still in the care of those super elders. And there is the Shenmue king. Now these people don't know where they are all gone. Let him fight all alone. These old guys. The madness of scattered robbery. The silence of the Lord of the Universe. Tongha Sword Immortal sat with the powerhouse on the side of the Stone Country, and the current powerhouse on the Stone Country. In addition to refining the stars, all went to the Gumu sect to teach. Even the ancestors of the Yu Kingdom were also in the lead. This is the son-in-law of Yu. On the bright side, he stood upright. Senior Xing Lian not going to join in the fun? Tongha Jianxian looked at Lian Xing, but the other party did not go, which surprised him. Although the vitality of star refining is still very strong, it is time to plan ahead. Lianxing grasped the pendant in his hand, smiled and said, "I still prefer to be passive. It's not good to be too active." Of course, it also depends on who takes the initiative. They know Jian Wushuang's potential best. It would be that simple. There must be an end to the 8 Tribulations realm. This time should not be the most anxious. Among the holy grounds of the Ancient Wood School, 4 of them came from the 10 great and 7 calamities in which Emperor Bobby sat down. It's not easy. All 4 people present recognized Jian Wushuang. Now it's up to Bobby this plan. In the turbulence of the void. The space boat drifts aimlessly. Cabin. Bobby D had received the news a long time ago. Already led people around Jian Wushuang's clone. It's just that Jian Wushuang's clone now doesn't have any consciousness. It seemed to be pinched off. Master Bobby, why don't we go directly to the Gumu faction and grab his deity before we speak? Dylan stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes at this time. Because of the secret method of Bobby D, the others have less desire for life force now. Moreover, I also knew Jian Wushuang's life force before, and there was not much fluctuation. Bobby's paw rubbed his chin, obviously thinking about something. Compared with Jian Wushuang, his plan is more important. The reason why he valued Apei Wushuang was because of extinction. Only life can defeat life. He wanted to use Jian Wushuang to defeat Daisheng. He had to control Jian Wushuang first. It's a pity that I can't hold it anymore now. It's not that he didn't think about the ancient wood school Holy Land. There is also the willow, the things contained in it, even he can't see through it. But inside, there are key treasures about the secret method of resurrection. Resurrection. This is the nickname of Bobby D for the secret law. It is also his biggest plan. Resurrect all the sabotages, thus becoming the gods of the 9 time-space sabotage powerhouses. Bobby D, who has experienced a lot in the starry sky, knows that this world has gods. Only those gods can stand high. The robbery is just a joke. The 9 tribulations will also fall. Emperor Bobby will use the 9 great time and space to disperse and achieve his own path to the gods. This plan is crazier than the extinction one. But he now has this capital. Qi Jiu Xiao, it's time for you to move. Emperor Bobby raised his eyelids, leaking his ticking eyes, and the cold light shrank. Ancient wood pie. Soon it became the core of the entire Guyu time and space. And all this is because of Jian Wushuang's exposed life force. Infinite world. Jian Wushuang and the others have already begun to act. At the same time, above the infinite world, at the core of the formation, there are dozens of superpowers who are destroying the core of the formation together. The formation was established by the Gumu school. Now they dismantled it themselves. It's just a bit slow to dismantle. It takes at least 1 day to enter the infinite world. In this day's time, as long as those 7 tribulations realm existed to stop the outside world, they would be able to take the lead in controlling Jian Wushuang. Who arranged this formation back then? An old man wearing a green crown asked. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then explained, it was arranged by the 7th elder. Old 7. The old man with a high crown was silent for a while, and continued to destroy the core of the formation without saying anything. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.